a pathetic wanker as their prime minister. You are a disgrace to your country and a traitor.
Well, there you go. There you go. Apparently, it's like universally recognized in the UK that Keir Starmer is a wanker. I can't tell you how many times I've actually heard like just thousands of Brits chanting Keir Starmer is a wanker. So I think that was probably likely the inspiration for this song, which is so appropriate today because let's face it, we're running out of opportunities to remind the world that Keir Starmer is a wanker. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I am your host, Joe Neerman, a.k.a. Good Lawgic. I hope you all had a phenomenal weekend. Mine was pretty solid, top to bottom. Top to bottom. I wish for you that yours was at least as good as mine. It was pretty solid. Pretty solid. The Lady Lawgic surprised me with a birthday cake, an early birthday cake. Not my birthday yet. Birthday isn't until Thursday. Which I have to figure out if I'm going to do anything. I have to figure out if I'm going to stream on my birthday. She was asking if I'm going to stream on my birthday. She's like, are we going to go out on your birthday or are you going to be streaming? You be working? I was like, oh. Well, it's not like it's like a big number. It's not like it's a number that I'm ever going to remember. I'm like, this is not like, I've had a bunch of these already. I've had a few dozen of these already. I know the deal. So I'm like, I don't know. But like, then I don't want to I like going out with my wife. She's awesome. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I will definitely keep you apprised. You'll find that out at goodlogic.locals.com. If I'm not here, you can get merch. That's right. We have merch now. It's true. You say, Joe, really? You have merch? You've been doing this for like years and years. You finally have merch? It's true. I do. In fact, if you want to actually check out our merch store, if you want to check it out, and I should be reminding you about this more and more. You can find it. Here's a little link for you. I wonder if I put it here, if that's going to pop up properly. You can find it's going to pop. Will that pop up proper for you here? I don't know. Oh, it does. And then you just pin it right there. Pin that message right there. That worked. Okay. And MLS is saying to me, hey, Joe, I need your Trump motion, your attendance on a stream about bricks and minifigs. I'll be happy to attend anytime, brother. You know that. I mean, as long as it's not like a Friday night type of thing. Yeah, I'll be happy to attend anytime. And I'm happy to give you the motion. I actually responded. You sent me a text. You sent me a DM on X, and I responded asking you which papers you want, because there was a whole bunch of different papers that I wanted. But, yeah, just send me your email, and I'll I assume you want the initial moving papers. So I can send you that. I don't know why you need it, but I don't care. Anyhow, tonight, what we got going on? Well, Tulsi Gabbard came out and exposed Dr. Anthony Fauci. Newest releases exposing just how involved he was in the creation and, frankly, the illegal development of the COVID-19 virus, which is stuff we pretty much knew already, to be frank with you. However, she actually has new evidence to help expose this evil man, this evil, sick man. He's a sick man who got fat and wealthy while just making up brand new rules every 10 minutes for us to follow. And basically, treating him like he was like some supreme being and deciding the science. He made a mockery of the term science. He literally made us question just the term, the science. He turned the word science into a joke. That's not a good thing. It's actually not a good thing for us to have such distrust in science. As it is, the climate community and all the freaking weather people, all the global existential threats, global warming, climate change folks, which were obviously using junk science in order to propagate a green agenda. they were already having science take a hit, but I feel as if when in that arena of science, it's not as if we don't really look at that as science. And I should pause for a second and just, well, I'm going to have a conversation with you about the science in just a few moments. Let me just explain what else we're going to have here tonight. But we're going to talk about science versus science, okay? Because I think the term science gets thrown around a lot. And we should really break down what do we actually mean when we're saying science. But anyway, so I want to definitely break down Tulsi Gabbard and the newest releases. And could this spell peril for Anthony Fauci? Could he be in trouble? I'll give you my best take on that. And also, the entire globe seems to be shifting very steadily over to the right. There seems to be a nice political shift now between elections happening in South America, Central America, and today, the removal, the resignation of wanker of the world, Keir Starmer, where he stepped down in tears. We're going to check that out. And I think then I'll explain to you my perspective as to why that matters, why that should matter to us here in America. Because I assume, even though I know I shouldn't assume this, I assume every one of you who's watching right now is squarely in the contiguous 48. I don't even count like Alaskans or Hawaiians. You're sort of like on. Well, there's one Alaskan out there. She's been here for ages. She's real. But I'm saying, really 49. Hawaii, I struggle to believe Hawaii is really part of our country. I know they're technically the 50th state. We'll call it the 49 because I like a lot of Alaskans. There's a lot of Alaskans out there I like. So we'll call it the 49. I assume everyone who ever watched my show ever resides in one of those 49 states. And I know that's not true. I know I've had people call me up, tell me they're from like Panama or made up countries in Southeast Asia. I know Karen Mannings puts up a big German flag and puts on this whole German accent when she calls in here. I always assume that everyone is here in the United States. And accordingly, I'm explaining to you why these changes that are happening internationally actually could be relevant to us here, why it matters. And finally, Democrats have hit a new low where, basically we always assume that they were the ones peeing in the pool, but now they're actually pretty literally doing that in the most disgusting ways possible. And it's a reminder why we just can't have anything nice. the scourge of society, just like why? Just why? You're so spiteful, so hateful. So I'm going to talk about their attacks on the reflecting pool. But I want to start off by talking about Anthony Fauci. And I know most of you are old enough to remember 2020 and 2021. I know most of you are old enough to remember that. I'm assuming most of you are old enough to remember that. But we need to talk about the man who called himself the science, that he is the science. Here's a little collage for you to just remind yourself about the science and the most important thing.
CDC is advising all Americans now to wear a cloth mask. Why the change now? Because most of us have been walking around, going to the grocery store, not wearing the mask because that was the original recommendation.
Well, we have to make sure we don't forget that the most important thing is to keep this 6-foot physical distance from individuals.
However, you testified recently, and I'm quoting, this 6-foot rule sort of just appeared.
Staying 6 feet away from people.
This 6-foot rule
Staying 6 feet apart.
crippled businesses,
Maintaining 6 feet of distance.
allowed students to stay at home and not learn.
So important. Maintaining distance of 6 feet or
Do
more.
you think that a rule that sort of just appeared is substantial justification for the regulations that we saw based on that 6-foot rule?
6 feet
The
apart.
CDC was responsible for those kinds of guidelines, not me.
I would recommend
Not me. Not about me. This wasn't me. Why are you looking at me? Why is everyone looking at me? They literally were making candles of him like he was Jesus.
doing what the CDC, as I think appropriately and correctly said, staying 6 feet away. The perfect solution to this is if everyone stays 6 feet separated, 6 feet away, stay 6 feet apart, 6 feet distance, 6 foot distance, 6 feet apart, 6 feet away, 6 feet away. That's our most important tool.
It had little to do with me since I didn't make the recommendation.
And I think we should just follow carefully the CDC recommendations. We must abide by public health measures. The usual 6 feet apart, very important, 6 foot distance, stay 6 feet apart, a 6 foot rule. It actually came from the CDC, not me. But I would recommend 6 feet of distance.
The 6 foot rule, the social distancing, which you said sort of just appeared.
The 6 foot rule, it's almost irrelevant,
What? What? It's almost irrelevant. This is what this con artist was doing. This is what he was doing. The 6 foot rule, 6 foot rule, 6 foot rule, 6 foot rule, almost irrelevant. I never said 6 foot. It wasn't my recommendation. Why are you looking at me? That's Anthony Fauci. He's the biggest con artist ever. This guy still heralded to this day by the left as some sort of man of science. And this is where I want to talk to you about the term science, because I really feel as if he damaged the scientific community. He really did. Because we kept hearing from this con artist, trust the science, trust the science, trust the science, trust the science. I couldn't even come in here and have this conversation with you back in 2021, because if I did, I would get yeeted off of YouTube. That's how overbearing the regulations were, trying to insulate this con artist, this Rasputin, who came in here basically said, it was literally a 21st century Rasputin. That's what he was. He was Rasputin. If you're unfamiliar with Rasputin, that's not just the name of a really fun song to sing. No. The story of Rasputin is a really important history lesson about someone who basically was a con man, and in that circumstance, he used the 20th century version of religion, which is religion. The 21st century version of religion is science. But basically saying that, he was a religious figure, Rasputin, who got himself very close to the Tsar's family and became insanely influential over Russian policy and wielded undue influence until finally the nobleman of the Tsars basically came out and tried killing him for one reason or another. Crazy story. It was like impossible to kill the guy. He was he was almost definitely hyped up on tons of cocaine or other amphetamines. He was shot multiple times. They poisoned him with like a gallon of poison, shot him multiple times, and he still wouldn't go down on the night that they tried killing him. It's a fun story, and he was definitely a twisted little sick, what. Trust me, he was just sick, really sick dude. But the point is, just someone who's a complete and total con man who works his way into being to the inner circle of very powerful individuals and controls policy. And that's what our little Rasputin here, a Napoleonic Rasputin, this 4'7" dwarf over here, basically worked his way into the upper echelons of U.S. government, both under the Trump administration and under the Biden administration, and was the voice of the science, even calling himself at one point the science. And I really feel as if he damaged science forever. I really do. And I know that we use the term science very, very loosely. We use the term science very loosely. We call it political science. No one thinks of when people hear the word science, they're not thinking of poli-sci. No, they're not thinking of that. They're not thinking of sociological science either, where studies say that a higher percentage of people who tap their neck and get endorphins are more likely to say good morning to you in the morning. People don't care about that. People don't really think of that as being science. That's something we just sort of confer the term science onto. We said, let's just start calling everything science. And the same is true when it comes to climate. Because let's face it, there is no way for our scientific community to actually use scientific principles to come to conclusions about what the hell is happening with our planet, whether it's global warming, the cause of the global warming, how much is global warming. And the reason for that is because you're talking on such a geological scale to try and actually get your head around what it is that we're seeing and not be looking at some tiny little blip in the annals of global history. And I mean, when I say global history, I mean long before prehistoric man. You know, you're talking to the evolutionists, certainly, who believe that the world is millions, I don't know, billions of years old. You start looking at 100 years, you're an idiot if you think that's telling you anything about the way the earth is supposed to be operating. You don't even know what the heck happened 1,000 years ago. There's no real way to test what it was 1,000 years ago. They start theorizing and speculating about what temperatures were like 100 years ago, 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago. Start saying these are the highest temperatures we've had in 20,000 years. They don't know any of this stuff. They don't know any of this stuff. You could get Helen Keller, give her a dartboard, and basically, you know, have her throw it and hit some classmate in the ear, and she'd be closer in guessing as to like how temperatures and this is not science. They call it science because if you call it science, then it all of a sudden has this cloud of authority of like, oh wow, what are you a scientist? Oh, you're not. You're not a scientist. Well, then you need to sit down and listen to what the experts are telling you because they are the experts. That's what the whole thing is. It's clout chasing for the highest soapbox. They clout chase for the highest soapbox that you need to sit down and shut up because you know nothing and you're denying science because we call this thing science. Science actually invented by Sir Francis Bacon, what, 800 years ago? 700 years ago? There's actually like, you know, there's scientific principles as to something, how you can test something. It's a repeatable process. That's what actual science is. And the one area, one of the few areas where science is actually science. There's a few areas where you could say, okay, science is science. Physics, chemistry, biology. These are things that you could test out and come to scientific conclusions. Now, when Dr. Chuckles over here comes out here with his stupid COVID recommendations and starts telling us that the science says this and the science says that, without any qualifiers whatsoever, never gave us any qualifiers, never came out and said, well, you know, we're really not sure. We're really not sure. Never once did he have any sort of hesitation of doubt. Did you ever hear? The only time he would say is, we're really not sure how many people are going to die. That's when he would say, we're really not sure how many people are going to die. But we're not really, but as far as what remedies would take care of the situation, what steps we need to take, who's more at risk, who's not, certainly in the earliest days of COVID, he just, oh, well, here comes Lord Fauci. What's Lord Fauci? The Lord Fauci's coming out with a new daily proclamation for us. That was him. That was the schmuck, Tony Fauci, Anthony Fauci, and the entire thing was a scam. The entire thing, it was a scam to line his own pockets. A scam that he almost certainly had a major role in unleashing that virus on us. And even though he had such a major role, still was too much of a nitwit to know how to help us get through it in a way that's going to be, you know, relatively unpainful. And that's because I don't think he ever had that objective in mind. I don't think he ever wanted to see it just quickly go away. I think he literally caused a plague across the world this man. Purposefully. That's my personal opinion on him based on what we know about him so far today. So, yeah, I think he's a very, very evil man. And don't get me started on the Beagles. Have a wonderful night, Lady Lawgic and Joe. Oh, that's so nice. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Lady Lawgic says thank you. There you go. So, let's get into what Tulsi has given us. Let's talk about what she's got for us. Tulsi. And what she says was her last day. She's done. She's leaving. finally got to run Tulsi's pulse post. Look, all in due time, all in due course. Oh, don't judge me. Don't judge me. Right,
out of Iranian.
That's not it. Here is Tulsi Gabbard and what she calls her final day. In fact, what she wrote was, in case you missed it, yesterday was my final day as Director of National Intelligence, which is strange because she said she's going to be there till June 30th, and now it's only, so she's leaving early, I guess. I declassified and released never-before-seen documents exposing the truth about Fauci directing millions of U.S. taxpayer dollars to fund dangerous gain-of-function research at the Wuhan lab, worked with the intelligence community to suppress the truth about his actions and hide the virus lab leak origins, and lied to Congress while under oath in 2024. This is an interesting thing that she's saying in 2024. Because a lot of people say that he was lying under oath in 2021, and there was all sorts of concerns that the statute of limitations had run. There was an appearance that he made before Congress on May 16th, I believe, 2021. And when we first started hearing some talk about Fauci coming out, it was like May 11th of 2026. Normally, the statute of limitations for perjury is 5 years. So you can only go back today you're going to charge him today. You can only go back to June 22nd, 2021. But she's referencing that there's potentially things he said under oath in 2024. Well, that's good. It's time you know the truth. Go to odni.gov to see for yourself, and we can check that out. But here she is breaking it down for us in her synopsis.
Before the COVID pandemic,
That's fast.
Dr. Fauci, as head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, provided millions in U.S. taxpayer dollars to fund dangerous gain-of-function research on bat coronaviruses at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, work which is now widely viewed as the source of the unintentional lab leak that sparked the pandemic.
I will never in my life believe it was unintentional.
Now, in support of President Trump's maximum transparency mandate, today,
I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna put a poll. Do you think it was an accidental lab leak? Let's get a little poll going on here. Start a poll. Do you All right, so the poll question is: do you believe that do you think that Wuhan was an accidental lab leak? Accident? No way. Or I'm a lemming and refuse to weigh in. So there you go. By the way, while you're here, if you could please hit like and subscribe, I would be most obliged to you. I'd be most grateful. Most grateful.
on my final day as Director of National Intelligence, I'm releasing never-before-seen communications and documents that expose exactly how Fauci worked with politicized career leadership in the intelligence community to suppress the truth about his actions.
And by the way, Jonathan is correct when he says in the ghetto, if you can question it, it's science. If you can't, it's propaganda. It's really that simple. If you can question it, it's science. In fact, science likes being questioned. It's not that it's like if you get offended by if you get offended by the question, it's not science. And I know this even though I've never been a scientist, because I know that whenever I come up with some sort of new theory or new perspective about like how to approach things or deal with things or something like that, I want questions. I want to like hone it down into like, is this accurate? Is it not? That's how you come to truth. You should be gleeful of someone who asks good questions, not stupid questions, but actually genuinely insightful, good questions. But what about this thought? Why do you discount this possibility? How is this? How would you explain this principle, which seems to go against what you're saying? Those sort of questions are things that a true scientist welcomes. That's what they crave that. That's why they crave other intellectual minds around them, so that they can actually, bang their ideas off of other people. That's the dream. The worst thing in the world is to feel like you're surrounded by idiots who can't actually help you hone your own ideas. That's what real science is. When they start telling you cannot question the science and start making up excuses because otherwise people are not going to listen if they hear questions, that's retarded. That's not true. Because if you actually sound competent in your response, they're going to listen to you that much more. Here's a great example. Remember we heard all about herd immunity? The early stages of COVID. As soon as we get to a certain percentage of people, herd immunity. That's what we just got to get to that number. And then when we got way past that number, they just stopped talking about it. No, everyone's got to get it. It's just like flat out lying to us. Over and over again, the 6 feet thing, making up the 6 feet. It's just retarded stuff. Ridiculous. Fauci resented being told that gain of function was dangerous and made sure he could not be implicated along with Peter Daszak from EcoHealth. That's true. I have a lot to say on the topic. I risked my life admitting COVID-19 patients. I was silenced for even suggesting a lab leak. I'm off to work now. Well, I appreciate you weighing in, Doctor. I certainly appreciate you weighing in.
The virus's lab leak origins and his role in directing U.S. funding for this dangerous research that caused immeasurable harm and countless lost lives. Now, these documents expose Fauci's direct role in influencing and manipulating IC assessments on COVID-19 and how Fauci lied to Congress in 2024 when under oath he denied knowledge of or participation in discussions with intelligence officials about viral research. We also received testimony from multiple intelligence community whistleblowers who reported retaliation for challenging the intelligence community's manipulation of intelligence on the virus's origins.
And the fact that there's retaliation, why would you be punishing these people if you actually were speaking truth? If you actually were speaking truth. And you know this also, whatever area of expertise you have, you love showing off your area of expertise. If someone actually spends 5 minutes like expressing an interest in hearing your opinion about whatever it is that you're an expert in, you sort of feel good, like sort of expressing yourself. That's human nature.
Once again, revealing a clear pattern of suppressing dissent, silencing critics, and burying the truth. Dr. Fauci's close relationships with the intelligence community enabled him to assume 3 key roles that shield him from scrutiny. First, Dr. Fauci funded dangerous gain-of-function coronavirus research linked to big pharma and their pursuit of universal vaccines worth trillions of dollars. Second, Dr. Fauci was the behind-the-scenes advisor who, alongside his hand-picked so-called experts, pushed the intelligence community to endorse a natural animal origin to hide his dangerous gain-of-function research.
The whole bat soup thing, which was always sounded stupid.
That he funded using taxpayer dollars, all of this in a deliberate attempt to cover up the truth and shift the blame and attention away from Fauci's own actions. Third, Dr. Fauci became the nation's pandemic pundit, and he publicly pushed lies, disinformation, and censorship using every platform available. Now, according to hundreds of reviewed emails, which are included in this release, the intelligence community almost always incorporated Fauci's recommendations. He promoted a fraudulent paper whose publication he helped prompt as legitimate information for intelligence community consideration. Senior analysts praised Dr. Fauci not as a policymaker, but as what they called an unbiased guide to the real coronavirus experts, while deliberately ignoring experts who might dissent from Fauci's narratives. Now, Fauci didn't stop there. He blatantly lied to Congress under oath during his 2024 testimony to the House Select Subcommittee on the Coronavirus Pandemic, denying that he ever spoke to any intelligence agency about COVID. Now, the correspondence I'm releasing today directly contradicts his sworn testimony.
And the question, again, the key is on the date is very, very important. And I know that a lot of you are going to point to a particular document. And I'll come back to her in a moment. Specifically, you're likely to point, was that it? That wasn't it. No, this was it. To this document, which purports to be a pardon of Dr. Fauci. And this pardon is a full and reads it as a full and unconditional pardon. Let me make this a little bigger for you. Just open that up. Make that a little bigger so you can appreciate just how broad this pardon purports to be. Joseph Biden, President of the United States, to all these presidents shall come, be it known this day, I, Joseph R. Biden, as if he signed it, President of the United States, pursuant to my powers, that have granted unto Dr. Anthony Fauci, who's so perfectly innocent that he needs me to do this for him, a full and conditional and unconditional pardon. For what? Any offenses against the United States, which he may have committed or taken part of during the period of January 1, 2014, through the date of this pardon, arising from or in any manner related to his service as Director of National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, as a member of the White House Coronavirus Task Force or the White House COVID-19 Response Team, or as a Chief Medical Advisor to the President. All the way back to January 1, 2014. And here we see his little auto pen signature of Joseph R. Biden. And I'm going to tell you right now, the auto pen is not the biggest flaw with this pardon. The auto pen is not the biggest flaw with this pardon. The biggest flaw with this pardon is that a president has the right to pardon offenses. They do not have the right to pardon people. You cannot just give a blanket pardon for anything the person ever did. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say that you can pardon a person. It says you can pardon offenses. But if you don't know what offenses they are, and you're just saying for any offenses, you're not pardoning any offenses. That doesn't make any sense. So you're saying that if he kidnapped thousands of babies and jabbed them with needles and intentionally killed them all, that they're pardoned? Do you think Biden is intending to pardon them for that? And the point that I'm getting to is not only does not have that power, the reason we wouldn't give him that power is because we would say he can't form mens rea about that because he doesn't know what he's pardoning. You have to know what you're pardoning. I agree that the President of the United States has plenary authority and broad pardoning powers to pardon whatever offense he wants to, no matter how heinous it may be. But at the very least, he needs to know what he's pardoning. And just saying any offenses without specifying a single one or having knowledge of a single one, presumably, is not, that seems to be far beyond what any president, that's what a king does. That's not what a president seems capable of doing. I don't even know if a king, I guess a king can do whatever the hell he wants to do. But that certainly that seems to be well beyond constitutional authority. Now, with respect to the auto pen, if in fact one can prove that Joe Biden didn't know anything about this when it was being entered, well, okay, that could invalidate this pardon. I just think that proving that will be next damn near impossible. Because if he does know about it and he says, sure, give Fauci this blanket pardon, and he has the authority, assuming he were to have the authority to do that, and he says, go use the auto pen, which seems like a retarded thing for him to do rather than just spending the 3 seconds to like sign his own name. That seems like something that's, he has the right to tell someone else to affix his signature. So unless you can prove he didn't know and didn't agree to this at the time it was signed off on, it would be assumed to be valid. Now, the purpose of this pardon is so that if he's ever charged, he would then, in theory, waive this pardon in front of the DOJ and say, you can't charge me, I have a pardon for this. And at that point in time, a court of law would have to decide whether or not this pardon is valid. Can a president pardon a man rather than an offense for whatever sins that man may have committed, rather than pardoning the sins themselves? So, and even though you use this language of for any offenses, the point is, since you don't know what the offenses are, some of you might come back and say, well, he's not pardoning the man, he's pardoning the offenses. And I'll tell you right now, just because you're trying to use language that seems like you're pardoning the offenses, if you don't know what the offenses are, you're not pardoning the offenses, you're pardoning the man. So if you drop a comment, if that's a thought you have, if you have thoughts, you can drop a comment down below. If you think I'm wrong about this and you want to drop a comment, that's fine. But if you can come back to me and say, well, the language here is for any offenses, so he's pardoning for any offenses, so I don't know why Joe keeps saying he's pardoning the man. I'm going to tell you right now, this is like when Congress tries using magic language to get around what they're actually doing. What you're actually doing is pardoning the man. And I don't think that this magic language cleans that up. But if you have other thoughts on this, let me know. So, yeah. But we're not going to know. We will never know whether or not these blanket pardons work until such time as some district attorney has the cojones to try charging someone who has a blanket pardon. And we'll see whether all these blanket pardons are any good or not. Because presumably it would work its way all the way up to Supreme Court as to whether or not this is a power that a president has. And I said this before Trump, right when Trump got into office. It's in his best interest, it's in Trump's personal best interest to try and make sure that one of these people who receive these pardons, could be Fauci, it could be someone from the J6 Select Committee or any other, big head honchos who got these blanket pardons. It would behoove him to try getting someone charged now, while he's still president, so that this issue as to the validity of a blanket pardon ends up being tested before the courts. Because if you're Donald Trump, you know that you and your family, on January 21st, 2029, that they will be gunning for you and for your sons and your daughters and your grandchildren and anyone who is a supporter of yours. You know they are going to try and throw you in jail unless it's JD or some other Republican were to win. But as soon as Democrats get power, you know they're going to charge you with some BS made up crap. And you know that you're likely going to be giving all of those people, we're going to be seeing blanket pardons for Ivanka and Don Jr. and Eric and Barron. We're going to be seeing them flying all over the place. Because you're an idiot if you don't, and I don't think he's an idiot. So would you rather know whether or not these blanket pardons are effective when the validity of these blanket pardons are being tested as to is this a good shield or not? Does this shield work or not? You want to put on a bulletproof vest. Would you rather be the one wearing the bulletproof vest when it's being tested with guns being fired at? Or would you rather have your political enemies put on their bulletproof vests and you take shots at it and see if it works? Maybe the court will say it works, but it's not up to me to say whether it works. I gave you my opinion as to why, if I were a judge, I would say it should not work. But that doesn't mean that my opinion is what's going to be held by 5 justices of the Supreme Court. I can't tell you how they're going to rule. I'm telling you what my personal perspective is. How are they going to rule? I think they would rule my way, but I don't know. So if you're Donald Trump, would you rather, and you have to test this bulletproof vest, and that's what this part is purporting to be. It's a bulletproof vest. It's a big blanket shield. You can't hit me. You can't hit me. No matter what angle you're firing at me, you can't hit me. If you're Donald Trump, would you rather test out the strength of that shield on your enemies or have your enemies test it out on you? I think that he's crazy if he doesn't try testing this out against Fauci, against Benihana, the big fat guy from Louisiana, or Nancy Pelosi and all these other idiots who got their blanket pardons, Adam Schiff, I don't care who it, just try it. You have to get these charges and something that can stick, that you can actually go after them. So this way, the validity of these blanket pardons gets tested. And not tested against someone you care about and love, or yourself personally. Not tested on Don Jr. when they try charging him, or Jared, or Ivanka, or Eric, or yourself personally, Mr. President Trump. Let's see how good a bulletproof vest it is. It's just good common sense. That's my political science commentary. Let's get back to Tulsi. Oh, wait, I got a few comments here from folks. People want my attention. God will get Fauci. God's justice far better than ours, but I pray some state attorney general will indict him. Maybe another country will indict him. I can only pray. I'm sure the lab leak was accidental, but the global spread was definitely intentional. Interesting. They locked down Wuhan unless you were leaving the country. Which is pretty funny. Fauci is guilty of mass casualty event. Well, you're saying he was reckless. I think he was intentional. The reason, and I'm telling you right now, it's not that I have, and just so it's clear that I'm making a statement of opinion rather than a statement of fact. The reason I conclude that it was intentional was that the timing was too perfect for the objectives of Dr. Fauci and those in his environment. For the objectives of the Democrats. This was too perfect. Because if this thing only hits 6 months later, and we don't feel its full effects, we don't have the changes in how we vote, with people sending in their mass mailing out ballots and stuff like that. If this thing doesn't hit until the summer, Trump wins in a landslide. In a landslide. So when the timing is that perfect, that we're in the we don't have a cure yet, because if you remember, the whole vaccine only came out 10 minutes after the election ended. Like, oh, whoa, we got a vaccine now, everything's saved, huzzah! So it only came out 10 minutes after the election ended. And we got the worst of the brunt of it leading into the election. To me, that type of timing is not a natural occurrence. I will never believe that was a natural occurrence. SCOTUS won't touch the issue of POTUS pardons. I don't know why you say that. Why? Why? You might be right. I'm not saying they definitely would. But look, let's assume they get charged in D.C. And some D.C. circuit court says, yeah, the pardon's good. So at least he has something to rely on. And the SCOTUS says, when I deny cert, at least he has something to bank on now. Let's get back to Tulsi.
Received statements from multiple whistleblowers revealing that the intelligence analysts who dared to challenge Dr. Fauci's COVID origin conclusions faced threats of retaliation, marginalization, and many suffered career setbacks. For example, a contractor was terminated just days after coming forward to ODNI as a whistleblower. Another example, those who advocated for the lab leak hypothesis or expressed dissenting views were reminded by their managers that leadership would determine which analysts would be promoted and which would not. The message.
It's unbelievable. They're like, hey, you can keep barking, but I'm just letting you know I don't like your barking, and I'm someone who decides the future of your career.
This was clear. Go along or be punished. Senior leaders also sought to undermine whistleblowers by removing anonymity, which is required in the whistleblower process, as they made their complaints, and also insisting that their managers or attorneys be present during ODNI meetings where these whistleblowers were coming forward with their testimony, obviously creating an atmosphere of intimidation. The COVID pandemic caused tremendous hardship and pain for millions of our fellow Americans and countless people around the world. Now, after years of lies and censorship and cover-ups, the American people deserve transparency, truth, and accountability. The tactics that were used to hide the truth are straight from the deep state playbook. Politicized, self-serving leaders like Dr. Fauci covered up their own wrongdoing and abuses of power, manipulated intelligence, lied to Congress, and undermined a duly elected president by restricting his access to the vital facts he needed to keep the country safe. It's time you know the truth.
So that was, I guess we should call her now, former Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, in her final address to the public. And since we are wishing her adieu, I will wish her, and in particular her husband, the best of luck. I only want to see a rapid recovery for her husband. And yeah, I'm going to express my gratitude to her for her work as Director of National Intelligence. I think she tried to do good. I think she tried. That's my personal opinion. I think she tried to do good. And she gave us two big stories, one being this one with Fauci and the other being with Barack Obama and that whole scandal there with what happened when Trump first came into office. So she broke those two things for us, which at least helps us get one step closer toward accountability. And yeah, so that was her breakdown there. Here is James Comer talking about this scenario.
Saying Fauci misused taxpayer money for gain-of-function research at the Wuhan lab and then lied about it. Joining me now is Kentucky Congressman James Comer, who's the chairman of the House Oversight Committee. Mr. Chairman, thanks very much for being here. You led a multi-
I can't put her louder because, frankly, look, I like what Maria Bartiromo says. Her voice just really just gives me like Mary Hart type of vibes.
Your investigation into Fauci and the origins of COVID, you've also questioned Fauci in a congressional hearing.
Make it a little louder.
What is your reaction to this? Would you bring him back in now for more testimony?
Well, this is more evidence of what we already knew. Dr. Fauci lied. He caused a great deal of pain for every American and most people around the world. The decisions that were made by the leadership at the time in America were based solely on what Dr. Fauci was saying. And now we know what we've always suspected, that he completely lied. He lied about funding gain-of-function research. He lied about the origins of COVID. He just continued to lie throughout the entire COVID debacle. You know, the decisions were made about the vaccines. If we had known at the time that this didn't come from a wet market, this was man-made, would that have had an impact on the type of vaccine that Americans were given, that we now know probably has caused a lot of health problems as a result of the COVID vaccine? So we already did the investigation, and we already have criminal referrals sitting on the desk at the Department of Justice. The Senate did the same. The Senate Homeland Security also has criminal referrals dating back a year and a half. on Dr. Fauci. We also, my committee, the Oversight Committee, did an investigation of the pardon that Joe Biden gave, all the pardons. And we concluded that Joe Biden wasn't at the table. There were no meetings with Joe Biden. The Constitution's clear. The president has sole authority to grant pardons, but there's no evidence that at the time that President Biden was even involved in the pardon process. It was
Again, the problem with that, the whole auto pen thing, is the presumption will be in favor of it being a valid document. The presumption will be that if you look at this document on its face, it looks facially valid. So you can't, if you're banking on the auto pen theory, the problem with that is you're starting with a foot in the hole, that you need to overcome a presumption of validity. Because whenever you see a document that purports in all facets to look authentic, you're going to need to show that there's fraud. It's going to be very tricky. It's going to be very, very tricky. It's an uphill climb. And frankly, it wouldn't help us with respect to knowing the validity of a blanket pardon, which is something that American people have a right to know.
They were signed by the auto pen, but there's no evidence. And that was based on all the depositions we had with all the key people in the White House during the Biden administration. There's no evidence Joe Biden participated in the decision-making of the pardon process. So there's more than enough evidence.
He'll come out and claim, yeah, they asked me about it, and I said, go ahead and do it. I expect that Joe Biden will get Fauci's back. That's why I don't like this line of attack at all.
And what Tulsi did is outstanding. It provides even more evidence for the department.
Or he won't even have to appear. He'll just sign an affidavit saying, I signed off on that. I told them to use the auto pen and cleared Anthony Fauci and gave it and granted him. I was fully aware it was happening. And as soon as that happens, the prosecutor loses on this argument about the auto pen.
Department of Justice to begin taking steps to hold Dr. Fauci accountable.
Yeah, so do you think that the pardon is legitimate if, in fact, it was done by the auto pen? I mean, that's the question now.
No,
because yeah, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think it's so much the auto pen as it is the fact that there were never any meetings that Joe Biden had with his staff on these pardons. The only pardon that Joe Biden signed was for his son, Hunter Biden. But let's take the auto pen off the table. I know there's a lot about the auto pen. I don't want that to be the defense. The defense is there were never any scheduled meetings on his calendar. There was not a single person involved in the pardon process, in the decision making on who authorized the auto pen that ever met with Joe Biden and discussed the individual pardon. So there's no evidence.
Yeah, okay, look, James Comer, you're not a lawyer. You're a farmer. I actually looked this up just now. I was like, is this guy a lawyer or not? Because any lawyer would know this is a really, really tough sell for a prosecutor. It's really tough. And as soon as you get Joe Biden signing an affidavit saying he had knowledge of the pardon and he signed it and it's a legitimate document, the judge is going to go along with it. Any judge would. Any judge would. Because what, are we going to assume that President Biden is lying to me in his affidavit? No, I'm not going to assume that. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. If I was a judge, I would probably be like, I can't know that he's lying. And we default back to, we assume a valid-looking document is valid. And now we have some corroboration to support it in the form of this affidavit, for whatever the affidavit you believe. I'm saying, like, yeah, okay, I think that Joe Biden is a big, fat, stinking liar, but I wouldn't be able to use my personal knowledge of him being a big, fat, stinking liar in coming to that conclusion and say, well, that guy always lies. As a judge, you can't really do that. So, yeah, this whole auto pen thing, it's a red herring. It's a red herring. Don't let him fool you with it.
Joe Biden had any decision making in the pardon process. So I think that alone is more than enough evidence to declare all the pardons issued by Joe Biden in the last day of his presidency null and void.
Just call them blanket pardons are invalid. Just do that.
Yeah, I mean, this is quite extraordinary. I mean, here you have Anthony Fauci, the one person who knew everything. He was in charge of all this bioweapon money. He actually knew what was happening and where, and he knew that we had funded gain-of-function research. He knew that he used taxpayer dollars, and he actually did not come clean about it in President Trump's term. President Trump there is...
Santiago Space Outlaw says, Joe, obviously Rasmussen, I think it means Rasputin, was a lizard person just like Fauci. That would explain a lot. It really would explain a lot. J.H. Schwalbach saying, this is 100% Tulsi's opening campaign speech. This will be replayed when she restarts her campaign, showing that she's the honest savior of the Republic. Almost certainly. Almost certainly, yes. I like her, but she scares the hell out of me. Yeah, I think she's well-meaning. I just don't know that she's presidential. I agree with you. She makes me very nervous, and she has certain opinions. She can vacillate sometimes, depending on which way the wind is blowing. So, yeah, I'm not a huge fan. It's like I sort of feel very, very neutral about Tulsi Gabbard. If meant to down Trump, they would release it here. Oh, for sure. For sure.
The president, he doesn't know what's coming at us. He knows, Fauci knows everything that the government has been doing in terms of funding this. And by the way, we knew very early in 2020 that this was not natural, that this was in fact engineered from a lab. We heard so from so many lawmakers. Tom Cotton was with me in March.
Don't get me started on Tom Cotton, because I'm starting to get I'm very upset with Tom Cotton today. I don't even ask me why I'm upset with Tom. I'm very upset with Tom Cotton today. Very, very upset. Very, very upset. I'm very upset with our whole Senate GOP in general. In fact, I'm so angry with them. I'm so angry with all of them. The only one I'm not angry with is Mike Lee. Literally every one of them, besides that, I'm angry at. Like, I'm feeling very feisty against our Senate GOP. I don't want to be like the purveyor of bad news or depressing news, which is, I hate playing that role. Do you know what? She's talking about Tom Cotton. This reminded me as to how our Senate GOP is useless. Not just useless, actively fighting against Donald Trump. Almost all of them, including Tom Cotton. Here's Scott Pressler, okay? Just talking about Tom Cotton. Senator Tom Cotton, who's someone who, like, most of us like Tom Cotton until you actually start looking at what he does. Senator Tom Cotton wasn't telling the truth. When Senator Cotton goes to television, he's actually doing it to be Senate Majority Leader Thune's mouthpiece. How do I know? Look at who Thune surrounds himself with at pressers: Cotton, Barrasso, and Capito. Cotton said the Save America Act does not have 50 votes, which is false. Senator Mike Lee introduced an amendment to attach the Save America Act to Budget Reconciliation 2.0. It did garner 50 votes. This was a direct attack on Senator Mike Lee. You'll also note that Senator Cotton even addresses Lee in this clip. Here. That's in case you're unfamiliar with the face. This up here is Senator Tom Cotton.
Do you think the
Republican Senator Tom Cotton.
SAVE Act is going to pass because the president really wants to see that, and a lot of people out there want to see that?
Well, I certainly support it, Martha, and I voted for it.
I don't believe him. I think it's an empty, hollow vote.
I'd like to see it pass as well. The reality is we don't have 50 votes for it right now as it's written, much less 60 votes. And also, Mike Lee, who is the sponsor of the SAVE Act, he has said he doesn't want to connect the SAVE Act to FISA because he opposes FISA. So,
because Senator Lee is based.
It creates different voting coalitions in the Senate. Whatever the fate of the SAVE Act is in the long term, I think it's urgent that in the short term, we reauthorize Section 702 so the president has that vital foreign intelligence tool to keep the nation safe.
Eat crap. Keep the nation safe.
Interesting developments. Senator, thank you very much. Chairman of the Intel Committee, Senator Tom Cotton from Arkansas. Always good to see you.
Yeah. Yeah. Great job there, Senator Cotton. This wasn't what got me so upset with them. That got me upset with Senator Tom Cotton. Should I share with you what got me so upset with the Senate? I'll have to dig it up. If one of you asks me for it, I'll dig it up. Like why they felt my ire this weekend. Getting back to Tulsi Gabbard. This is the one that people were saying we should go after him for. This was back in May. Just what, 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago? Pardon or not, there's one very dire reason why Fauci must be charged quickly. So this is on May 1st. So they're basically referencing the clock is ticking on Anthony Fauci. Literally, a new post on X is raising a big red flag about a potential charge against the not so good doctor. If it's going to happen, it needs to happen quickly. This time is almost up. If Fauci lied to Congress on May 11, 2021, when he lied and said the NIH didn't fund gain-of-function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, then the 5-year statute of limitations is about to run on that. That ran on May 11, 2026. Why there were no charges? No one knows. And yes, there's the Biden auto pen pardon problem. Oh my God! See, everyone's so tied up on this stupid auto pen. They should charge them to see if that auto pen pardon holds. They should charge them to see if a blanket pardon holds. That's not the key point. Who writes these things? Who is this? I don't know who this is. Who am I reading here? Revolver? Usually they do better. Fauci can raise the pardon as a defense all he wants, and the courts can decide if it protects him. But DOJ waits too long. The whole thing will die before anyone has to answer the real question. Now, Tulsi said over here that he lied under oath in 2024. I don't know when he appeared in 2024. When did he? When did Fauci testify before Congress in 2024?
June 3rd, 2024. That was his main public testimony before the House Select Subcommittee on the Coronavirus Pandemic. He also did a closed-door transcribed interview with them on January 8th and 9th earlier that year.
In the original post from Tulsi Gabbard, she said that they have evidence to show that he lied while under oath. Which statement did he make that was a lie that is contradicted by the evidence that Tulsi has?
Fauci said under oath, not to my knowledge about COVID, when asked if he'd spoken to the FBI, CIA, DIA, or any U.S. intelligence agency about viral research before, during, or after the pandemic. Tulsi Gabbard's declassified documents reportedly show communications and involvement between Fauci and intelligence officials on exactly those COVID-related topics, contradicting that denial. That's the specific statement she's pointing to as a lie.
That's the best you have, is that he said not to my knowledge, and that when he said not to my knowledge, he was lying?
No, that's not it. Tulsi Gabbard's release claims the documents show Fauci was actively involved in discussions with intelligence officials about COVID origins and viral research, providing scientists, shaping assessments, and pushing the natural origin narrative, which directly contradicts his sworn statement that he had no such involvement. Not to my knowledge about COVID. It's not a semantic, not to my knowledge dodge. The evidence reportedly shows repeated substantive engagement.
All right, well, that's something. That sounds like something. Because he definitely had a lot of discussions. That's part of what we got, is there's a lot of discussions about getting funding for his gain of function research. So that would be a question of fact as to whether or not he was lying when he got up in front of Congress and pretended he didn't know anything about it. But it doesn't sound like James Comer wants to bring him back in there. He's like, we already did this. I don't want to bring him back. So I don't think we're going to get him in there anytime soon. And just the news reporting. U.S. intel located video proving coronavirus research in China, even as Fauci continued to deny. The year after the COVID-19 pandemic reached the U.S., a United States intelligence official flagged a video circulating online showing a government-funded scientist admitting publicly that his colleagues in China had manipulated spike proteins on coronaviruses. During this time, leading health official Dr. Anthony Fauci continued to double down on his claim his office had not funded gain-of-function research at the Wuhan lab in China, where scientists conducted such experiments. Fauci's apparatus had also ruthlessly cracked down on questions into the origins of COVID-19, seeking to discredit theories that the virus may have escaped containment in a laboratory accident. He kept saying it's not an accident. He said it wasn't a lab leak. It was something that came out of the wet markets. Remember the term wet markets? We've never heard of wet markets. Apparently, the only place in the world there are wet markets are in Wuhan, and that's where they had the good fortune to be able to blame the origins of COVID. Quote, "Hey guys, just saw this video online," an intelligence community official wrote in an email to colleagues. The email was released in a new batch of COVID-19 documents declassified by Tulsi Gabbard in the last hours of her tenure. Quote, "It's from a 2016 NY Academy of Medicine meeting where Daszak, that's Peter Daszak, that's Fauci's right-hand man, talks about his colleagues in China manipulating the spike protein on a coronavirus to make them more virulent. Oh, look at us. We made something even more lethal." In the video, which was posted to the online streaming platform Rumble, Dr. Peter Daszak explained how his colleagues in China grafted spike proteins from discovered coronaviruses onto pseudoparticles in order to test whether they can infect human cells. And this is specifically what gain of function means. In case you don't remember what the phrase gain of function, it's a little confusing. It basically means how can we manipulate a virus in order to do new and creative, new, potentially lethal things. So check out this video. Let's see what we got.
As an example, first of all, we're only looking at viral families that include those that have gone into people from animals. So we narrow it down straight away. Then when you get a sequence of a virus and it looks like a relative of a known nasty pathogen, just like we did with SARS, we found other coronaviruses in bats, a whole host of them. Some of them looked very similar to SARS. So we sequenced the spike protein, the protein that attaches to...
We sequence the spike protein means we're altering the virus. We're resequencing the genetics of the virus. That's what he's describing here.
Similar to SARS. So we sequenced the spike protein, the protein that attaches to cells. Then I didn't do this work, but my colleagues in China did the work. You create pseudoparticles, you insert the spike proteins from those viruses, see if they bind to human cells. And each step of this, you move closer and closer to this virus could really become pathogenic in people. So you narrow down the field, you reduce the cost, and you end up with a small number of viruses that really do look like killers. Then you look in people and you say, in the people that live in the region where this animal lives, that are exposed to that virus, do we see antibodies specific?
Yeah. So there you go. We found another coronavirus in bats. Some of them look very similar to SARS, so we sequenced the spike protein. We just heard all this. Each step as we move closer and closer, the virus could really become pathogenic in people. Daszak and his research organization, EcoHealth Alliance, were at the center of scrutiny over origins of COVID-19 pandemic because the risky science they supported in China, known as gain-of-function research. EcoHealth a global nonprofit, which you're not, by the way, it's illegal for them to practice in gain of function. Like, he specifically kept saying we're not involved in gain of function because they're not, it's considered ethically immoral. He's like a mad scientist here. EcoHealth, a global nonprofit supported by U.S. government grants, helped fund research in Wuhan, China, where the virus is said to have originated. Shortly after Trump took office last January, the Department of Health and Human Services banned both DASIC and EcoHealth from receiving federal funding for 5 years for allegedly facilitating and passing taxpayer money to the Wuhan Institute of Virology in China before the beginning of the pandemic. Yeah. The existence of the video and DASIC's comments at the conference provide further evidence that raising the possibility that Fauci likely possessed an understanding that the U.S. government had, at least indirectly, funded the very gain-of-function research that he continued to insist it had not. There's even an email that's referenced here in this earlier article we're looking at from Peter Daszak to Jenny Greer, and I think this is Andrew over here. I think this is him. It's Andrew Ford. No, it's Andrew Ford. Dear Jenny, this is terrific. We're very happy to hear our gain of function research funding pause has been lifted. Oh, we got our money. We got our money. We're so excited. But Dr. Fauci told Senator Paul, Rand Paul, with all respect, you're entirely completely incorrect. The NIH has not and does not now fund has not ever and does not now fund gain of function research in Wuhan Institute. And here's his right-hand man, Peter Daszak, saying, oh, good news. We're happy to hear our research was just kicked in. Ugh. Just a month before the internal intelligence community email, Fauci had repeated his testimony in the Senate, denying his office had funded such research. He told Senator Rand Paul the NIH has not ever and does not now fund gain-of-function research in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Later that year, however, the NIH changed the story and admitted to Congress that it had funded a Wuhan Institute of Virology experiment that altered a bat coronavirus through gain-of-function. The newly declassified documents also show that the Biden administration buried a whistleblower complaint to the intelligence community inspector general that alleged Dr. Fauci had lied to Congress when he testified about the conduct of gain-of-function research at the National Institutes of Health, just the news previously reported. The complaint alleges Dr. Fauci provided false testimony to Congress related to the conduct of gain-of-function research at the NIH, thereby misleading the American people in congressional oversight, Acting Intelligence Community Inspector General Tamara Johnson wrote on August 11, 2021, to then DNI Avril Haines. Rather than refer the alleged lie to the independent watchdog, no, they just gave him promotion after promotion, which was at the DHS, which was responsible for probing misconduct in Fauci's office. Haines referred the concerns instead to Health Secretary Javier Becerra, a Biden political appointee who is now running to be California governor. Yeah, that's Becerra. Johnson also made clear she didn't want to send the complaint to her peer at HHS. The general dispute about gain-of-function research is already in the public domain, making it highly probable that the HHS OIG would already be aware of the allegation. Oh, it was already aware, so I don't need to pass that on. Consequently, we determined there'd be no merit in referring the matter to HHS. They're so corrupt. Oh my God, they're so corrupt. Gabbard said the document she released late Thursday in her final hours as DNI demonstrate that government officials, including Fauci, engaged in a cover-up to mislead the public about how COVID-19 pandemic started. Straight from the deep state playbook, she said. Fauci, who retired before President Donald Trump returned to White House, has repeatedly denied engaging in wrongdoing along with Congress, but he did accept a pardon from President Joe Biden in late 2024. Beyond the intelligence community whistleblower allegations, Gabbard said she too believed Fauci lied to Congress on another matter in 2024 when he claimed he had not talked to intelligence agencies about virus research. So that's the best we can get him on right now. That's the best we can get him on right now. close out with this little look at this corrupt little monkey.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, American hero and New York Yankee fan.
You've done so much for this country in terms of this crisis, so I really appreciate your insight.
Who better to give us answers that we can trust than Dr. Anthony Fauci?
The perfect person to answer our questions today. Joining us now, Dr. Anthony Fauci.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, appreciate your candor. Dr. Fauci, appreciate the candor.
We appreciate your service to this country.
We appreciate your service.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your
Real American hero. Sickening. Sickening. He's like Obama 2.0. That's essentially what he is. His science is answer to Obama. Trump has lunch scheduled with Republican senators tomorrow. I'd love to be a fly on the wall for that gathering. They're all gonna blow smoke up his hiney. That's what they're gonna do. They're all gonna blow smoke up his hiney. Useless. I close some of my tabs here for a moment. Start catching up. Okay. It's time for me to give you my weekly report on the Save America Act. Mike Lee's still fighting. He's pretty much the only one who's fighting for it. He's the only one in the Senate who's fighting for the Save America Act. God bless Mike Lee. No one else is. But the House, certain members of the House are trying to help push it along. Representative Anna Paulina Luna says, myself and 24 other members have signed the letter pledging to vote no on any Senate bills unless Save America is passed. Nice. Now the Senate is sending a housing package to the House, and to honor my pledge, I will oppose it unless Save America is attached. The Senate cannot keep obstructing President Trump's agenda while ignoring election integrity. I call on my fellow colleagues to stand firm and honor their pledge. And here they are. Randy Fine, Andy Harris, Chip Roy, Keith Self, Michael Cloud, Josh Breshin, Clay Higgins, Lauren Boebert, Byron Donalds, Andrew Clyde, Sherry Biggs, Scott Perry, Ralph Norman, Andy Ogles, Mark Harris, Eric Burleson, Mary Miller, Anna Paulina Luna, Andy Biggs, Corey Mills. That's interesting, Corey Mills. He's desperate to win some favor. Warren Davidson, Burgess Owens, Jimmy Petronis, Russ Fulcher, and Brandon Gill. So, yeah. So that's, hopefully, is that going to do anything? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But we should talk about good things. Everyone likes hearing good news. I know. I like hearing good news. You like hearing good news. So let's give you some good news. And you might not realize or appreciate why this is good news, but this is good news. And that is Trump endorsed right-wing Colombian presidential candidate Abelardo de la Espriella. I totally didn't pronounce that properly. Espriella? Who knows? Stuns the world and wins the presidential election. He plans to go full Bukele mode, locking up criminals en masse, destroying the cartels, and cooperate with President Trump significantly better than the current leader. Quote, under my government, any bandit who resists will be eliminated as appropriate. And if he submits, we will imprison him in a mega prison so he can pay his debt to justice as they should. The only peace process I believe in is one imposed by the force of arms and the laws of the republic. Massive win in Latin America. I think it's technically South America. I think Colombia is technically South America. The right wing is rising. think they're saying Tigre. And that's because Trump shared out Colombian presidential candidate El Tigre, the tiger. Abelardo de la Espriella is a smart, strong, and tough leader who fights tirelessly for and loves his great country and people, just like I do for the United States of America. As president, Abelardo will be tremendously successful in leading Colombia to grow the economy, create jobs, promote trade, stop illegal immigration, crack down on crime and drugs, and restore law and order. Abelardo was running against a radical left Marxist in the runoff on Sunday, June 21st, which he won. The results of this election are very important to the future of Colombia and its relationships with the United States, which, if Abelardo wins, and because of his competence and love of his country, will have the total support and strength of the United States behind him. Because of his tremendous accomplishments in life and his political support for me, it is my honor to give Abelardo my complete and total endorsement. Get out and vote for El Tigre. Abelardo de la Espriella, he will not let the wonderful people of Colombia down. It will rise to a new height of greatness. President Donald J. Trump. And this got people to notice that, you know, in Central and South America, we have seen a growing trend of right-wing figures rising up. Right-wing wave across the entire American continent since 2023. Argentina, 2023, got Javier Milei. You all know him as Afuera. We got Donald Trump. El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, which I think I have a clip on. This might be, I'm not sure. Jose Raul Mulino, I don't think I took it because it was all in Spanish. In Panama, in Dominican Republic, 2024. Ecuador got Daniel Noboa. Paraguay got Santiago Peña. Chile got Jose Antonio Cast. Bolivia, Rodrigo Paz. Costa Rica, Laura Fernandez Delgado. Peru, and now Colombia. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, let's take this out. Let's take America. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 countries. The blue represents right-wingers. So there you go. That's your new map of the Americas. All of these countries, all of them along the western half of South America and into Central America, steadily becoming more right-wing. This is very important. It's very, very important. Here's a comparison. A right-wing wave of government in South America via Datos AME from June 2023. Look at all the red here. All of these countries were left-wing. I know it's the opposite of what we have with red and blue, but in these maps, we should be looking for more blue. Look at all these Democrat-controlled areas. We still have to deal with Venezuela because we don't have right-wingers who actually care about, like, if we didn't have to worry about Venezuela, we wouldn't be having this fentanyl issue. It certainly doesn't seem like we would have the fentanyl issue that we have. This is why I think Colombia, I think, is regarded as part of South America, not Central America. It's like the northern tip. And there is Espriella. Espriella. I don't know. But this is a good thing. Because the more people, you ask yourself why. Why is this a good thing? It's a good thing because the less insanity there is in the world, the less it gets, the more people are clamping down on insanity and recklessness and lawlessness in their corner of the world, the less it bleeds into our country. The less impact it ends up having. The happier they are, the less likely they are to come fleeing here. We want them to be happy in foreign countries. I'm not saying we should be paying for their happiness, definitely not that. But we want them to find their self-sufficiency and be able to actually stand on their own 2 feet and not be pockets of chaos, or if not pockets, just, wide open, massive zones of terror that normal people are fleeing from. And some of the terrorizers end up bleeding in here too. This is a very, very, very positive thing. It's very, very positive. Part of the way to actually help control, we're not always going to have President Trump in here. And the more normalcy we have throughout the rest of the world, the better this ends up playing out for we here in America. This is Benny Johnson pointing out. How is it that narco state of Colombia has cleaner elections than California? Let me break it down for you. Colombia had hand counted 99.8% of their 25 million ballots in under 3 hours. Hand counted 25 million ballots in 3 hours. Public counting of paid ballots and ID required in-person voting. For comparison, California has a population of 39 million, takes months to count votes, doesn't require ID, and has millions of mail-in ballots that appear out of thin air. The Democrats' problem isn't vote suppression. They're incompetent and fraudulent. Without their USAID foreign cash pipeline, they can't win clean elections. And this is what people are speculating, that USAID was being used to help prop up these leftist governments in Central and South America. And that since we squeeze that pipeline dry, and they can't promote socialist agendas in these foreign countries, can't engage in operations to benefit the socialists of Colombia, of Paraguay, of Ecuador, of Peru, of Chile, of Argentina, that this ends up making it harder for the socialists to steal these elections. California has 9.4 million votes, takes weeks to count. And Colombia counted 26.3 million votes. Nearly 3 times as many votes in 3 hours by hand. This is the note they have. Look at this, dude. This is They don't let me write notes. When I try to write notes, they're like, no, you're not helpful enough. See, they don't want to let me write notes. They're afraid of me fixing the world. Ever since President Trump shut down USAID, DNC became broke. Peru's conservative leader won. Chile's conservative leader won. Bolivia's conservative leader won. Ecuador's conservative leader won. Honduras' conservative leader won. Colombia's conservative leader won. Yeah. We were propping up these leftist organizations, these leftist entities all across the globe, all across our hemisphere. This is a good thing. This is a really good thing. It makes Trump happy. So there you go. What is this? Oh, yeah, there was this. I don't know what. I have a feeling I'm going to get hit for it, though. So that is the Don Rowe doctrine. He's wielding his influence throughout the Western Hemisphere. The Don Rowe doctrine. That was Keir Starmer. I don't believe it was actually him. I think that likely was it. I suspect, I don't know. I cannot say for certain. I suspect that was AI. But this is not.
And when I leave the biggest job in the country, I shall spend more time on the most important job, being the best husband I can to my fantastic wife, Vic, who has been a rock by my side through good times and bad, and being the best dad I can to my beautiful children, who are my pride and my joy. Thank you very much.
Keir Starmer forced to leave in disgrace. Now, the Labour Party is still in charge there. They're still in charge. They still have the votes. The Labour Party basically bounced him out, saying, you are the most hated person we've ever seen in our lives. You are a disaster. Oh my God, everyone hates you. And we're terrified that when we have our next elections, if you're still the head of the Labour Party, we are going to get walloped in the elections. The way it works, in case you're not familiar with the way these parliaments work, because you're like, I'm American, okay? I've been here for 250 years, and I don't know about these stupid parliaments and what they do. So basically, they have like the different parties. People basically sign up as being part of party A, B, C, D, E. They have multiple parties. It's not just like, I know we have multiple parties technically also, but the only ones that anyone thinks about or cares about are Republican and Democrat. But there they have multiple parties. And these different parties, people sign up as if they're part of a party. And depending on how many seats the party gets, based on, people voting for Labor versus Conservative, whatever. So that determines how many seats you get in Parliament. And whichever party ends up having the most seats ends up basically that the head guy from that party becomes prime minister. Labor won, and he's the head of the Labor Party. Labor Party said to him, we got terrible concerns that you kind of suck and people don't like you. And since they don't like you, we're going to lose a lot of seats unless you step down. And you're not going to be prime minister because we're not going to hold parliament any longer. So we're urging you to step down. And that's why in his stupid speech that he gave, a 7-minute spectacle where he was basically claiming about what a phenomenal job he's done, wonderful, amazing, remarkable job he's done in building the economy and all these great things. And then he basically jumps into saying, but my party wants me to step down, so I'm going to. Why do they want you to step down? Oh, because you're not popular. Why are you not popular? Oh, because you're a tyrant. And he really is a tyrant. Most of you don't likely follow much about politics in the UK. But this falls in line with my story as far as talking about how the left is falling. Leftist heads are rolling. And his head rolled today, thank God, because he's an evil, vile dictator wannabe. He's tyrannical, psychopathic. And he basically sicked his police on anyone who sent a Facebook post that he didn't like. He enabled all of these crazy, brutal attacks by migrants. A report came out last week about basically a culture of migrants feasting on hundreds of thousands of girls in sexual attacks that basically get swept under the rug. Now, I don't know if those reports are true. I don't know if they're accurate. I don't know if they're inaccurate. But I'm just telling you that maybe it's not hundreds of thousands. I'm sure it's many, many tens of thousands. I'm sure it's many, many tens of thousands. And if anyone writes anything evil about migrants, they potentially go to jail for inciting a hate crime. It's insanity. We are the last bastion of actual freedom here in this country. And this country, I obviously mean the only country that matters. And this is typical of Europe. This is what we see all through this. I mean, what we saw from Keir Starmer, this is what the EU has become. They become a bunch of cuck nonsense. I was having a lot of fun trying to come up with British terms all weekend whenever I was referencing this story. But the same thing is going on in France. This is France.
Dear European and American friends, listen to this latest absurdity. Last November, Jean Hudgana, who is a father, an identity activist, and a local councilman, filmed a video in front of the supermarket in his small town. Let's watch it together and I'll comment next.
Salut à tous.
She's speaking English. He said, sick of living with the Taliban's cousins out in the middle of our countryside. This is in France.
Et là, je suis dans la ville dans laquelle j'ai grandi. 10 000 habitants, je crois. Et depuis quelques années maintenant, tous les soirs, on est comme ça. Voilà, à la sortie. On se demande un peu ce qui se passe.
They basically just showed them sitting there.
Mais en gros, t'as des réfugiés.
It's got Afghan refugees hanging around here.
Toujours au Leclerc en train de t'acheter de la bouffe.
Always at Leclerc, doing nothing.
Bienvenue dans la campagne française.
Okay, he posted this.
That's what he posted. This terribly, like, just like, oh my gosh, can you believe he actually said that? And what happened to him? Oh, the French Nazis got him.
In the evening, and the next day at noon, the cops called him to summon him, warning him that it might take a while. He was held in police custody for 48 hours and subjected to completely crazy interrogations, where they asked him where his children went to school, what his relationship with them was like, how he raised them, Stasi style, basically. In the end, he was recently prosecuted and sentenced to a 3-month suspended sentence prison and a fine of 4,650 euros, including 600 euros in compensation for each Afghan migrant he filmed. Native French people who speak out against non-European immigration and its damages are subjected to a veritable ritual of humiliation. They are forced to submit and to love their invaders and their tormentors against their will.
Can you believe that this French woman knew the word veritable and used it properly? Kudos to their education system. That's an SAT word. That this, yeah, I couldn't even believe. She used it right.
Identitarian activists are hunted down like criminals because we love our country. My friends, keep fighting and defend your freedom of speech tooth and nail, because if you lose it, you lose everything else. Your sovereignty, your identity. So please share this video because there are still brave French people who are still fighting and deserve your support. Thank you.
Vive la France! This is what it is. This is what the EU has become. I don't know how that ended up my timeline, but I was like, yeah. And that's what Keir Starmer stands for. Because invariably, that is what socialist perspective is. It is always, always going to result in tyranny. Because they don't have ideas that they want to have discussed or debated. They just want power and control. That's all it's ever been about. They just want to be the ones in power and control. So they use populism and socialism is rooted in a form of populism to basically try and overthrow whoever is in power, and hope that that the wheel will turn and they'll be on top, and that they'll become part of the fat cats. You have some of the suckers who help push the wheel along by actually believing in the stupidity of socialism because they're too ignorant of common sense or historical knowledge to know better, but thinking too much with their hearts instead of their minds. Frankly, couldn't scratch together a working mind out of 6 of them. But the ones who at the top who are pushing it for it's always about power for them. And you know how I was talking about science before earlier, and I was like, people like debating ideas. They can hone out and flesh to get the truth. They don't want to have people fleshing out truth and ideas. Fleshing out truth and ideas is an anathema to someone who's promoting socialism, because the more it's fleshed out, the more obvious it is that it's meant for idiots to promote. That's why they can't stand it. That's why they need to silence opposition. That's why, supposedly, Keir Starmer was threatening to punish any Brits who were posting signs at the World Cup saying Keir Starmer is a wanker. I mean, just immature, insecure, power-hungry, despotic, tyrannical evil. That's what we're fighting against. And I get frustrated by the woke right. I really do, because they don't appreciate just what a hazard and a danger these folks are. Liz, thank you so much. Oh, that's the wrong one. I meant to give you this. Much obliged to you. Thank you so very, very much. You're awesome. What did I miss? What did I miss? I missed other stuff also. Let me go back. Kimmy saying 1776, Mike Lee as John Adams, as the GOP Senate sings, for God's sake, Mike, sit down. Someone open up a window. I say vote yes, no. Vote yes, no. Vote for Save America. I don't know what you're talking about. Go after Dasick first. Was he pardoned? I don't think so. Are people in EcoHealth? I don't know if they're Americans. Someone would squeal. Can we ask Joe Biden to revoke his pardon since his info has been made public? I'd like to hear his response. I don't think he has the ability to revoke a pardon. I would not think that a pardon is revocable, because the pardon is of his. Like I said, I don't think it's a valid pardon anyway. No one wants to listen to me. It's not a valid pardon. There's no such thing as a blanket pardon. I cannot say you are pardoned of all your sins. You are now holy. Oh, look at the beam of light that's emanating from you. Oh, I've just conferred upon you this Holy Spirit of perfectness, and all of your sins are cleansed and washed away from this piece of paper that I'm conferring upon. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. It's so illogical. I can say, hey, that sin you committed, gone. That other sin, gone. And here's 47 other sins, gone. I need to know what I'm pardoning. Not, oh, you are holy. Oh, everything. You're surrounded by God's love and the spirit of my light. It's retarded. It's ridiculous. The only one who can forgive all your sins is God. That's it. How are you going to have Andrew on tomorrow night? Who? Oh, Branka? I was thinking about reaching out to him. I almost reached out to him to come on tonight. I feel bad. Like, I feel like I'm using him. I do. I feel guilty. Like, I would have him on I just feel guilty asking him. I feel like I'm, can you come on my show? He always says yes right away. But I always feel like I don't know. I feel like I like having him. He's great. He's smart. He's fun. He's a great guy. I just feel stupid asking him all the time. I don't know. What I like about my weekly hosts is that I don't have to ask them every week. It's just like, boom, you're here. Boom, you're here. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's a much easier thing. It's very awkward. Just realized a $5 super count towards the goal. Now I have to start watching for your curveballs. Come on, fellow non-cultists. 3 more for the win. What? It did? 5? What? Did I do that? Did I say? What? I did make it $5. That was so not what I expected. What? That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. What was I thinking? I'm such a neb. Oh my God, no. I didn't say that. I said 10. Did I even say what it was? Did I even mention the goal tonight? I don't know if I mentioned the goal. Did I mention the goal? I don't think I did. I don't think I did. What a patheticness. The goal that I'd set up for tonight, which was supposed to be 15 super chats of $10 or more, and I don't think I mentioned it at all. The goal I had set up was that if we hit our goal of 15 super chats of $10 or more, which I know I didn't put it that way. I didn't list it that way in the goal thing, was that I was going to go over Judge Sparkle Snuggles and her stupid decision, which frankly, I didn't even want to put that as a goal because I think going through it will depress the heck out of me. And also about Tucker Carlson and his announcement that he's no longer Republican, which it's nice that he finally came out of the closet. So people are looking at this and this talk that's going on now about them starting a third party and Tucker Carlson for president, which is it's so never, ever, 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 ever happen. Never. All that will do is make Kamala Harris president. That's all that will do. It will make Kamala Harris president. That's what that will do. It will make Kamala Harris president if he wins. So it's you're welcome. It's not a sale. I don't want to talk about Judge Sparkle Snuckle. Stupid idiot. Hate that woman. Some immigrant judge who came in here and basically trying to destroy our elections. That's what she's trying to do. I don't want to talk about it because she gave a 70-page decision that Robert Gouveia dissected already, and it's depressing, and I think it's hopefully going to be overturned. So it's just going to be, the only reason it's remotely interesting is because of her stupid name, which is literally Judge Sparkle's Snagabacca, whatever. I don't even know what's her stupid name. God, Judge Sparkle. Her first name really is Sparkle. Judge Sparkle's Nuke-Nanon. I'm not making this up. If only I were. If only I were making this up. This is like the last this is one of the last FUs we got from Joe Biden. And she was made a judge in January of 2025, days before Trump came in. Suknanen, January 2nd. Unbelievable. Sparkle Suknanen. She comes from Trinidad and Tobago, which they can't make up their minds. If that's not the stupidest name for a country you've ever heard. Trinidad and Tobago. Like, what does that even mean? It's like 40% of them want to call it Trinidad, 37% want to call it Tobago, 14%. So let's call it Sparkle Land. Sparkle Suknanen. This is the insightful woman who decided that no, we can't have integrity in our elections. That sounds crazy. That sounds crazy. I do want to clarify something, by the way. There was another decision that came out today that a lot of people were upset about. There was another decision. See, this is not cool. This is not cool. You're taking advantage of my kindly nature. Taking advantage of my kindly nature. Fine. So I was almost even if it was $10, I was sort of hoping not to have to cover this story. I was like, if we don't make the goal tonight, I'm okay with it. But I will give you, since I did put it up there as a goal, I did do that. It was my error. So I'm gonna do, and also I know Lizzie really wants to hit our goal. She's awesome. So I will give you coverage on that. I'll give you coverage on that. Okay. I'll do my thing. But first, let me cover the pool.
Dear.
Why can't we have anything nice? And by the way, I'm giving you the goal. I do want to remind you all about my merch store. Yes, I have a merch store. What? Really? Joe, you sell merch? That can't be. We never thought you ever would decide to sell merch. No, it's true. I can't not come on because it's true. It's totally true. It totally happened. You might say to yourself, Joe, what kind of things would you even sell in your merch store? I'm so glad you asked that question. Some of the things that you can get for sale in the Good Lawgic merch store, which link is in the description and pinned in the chat, is you can get yourself a nice little mug. You can get yourself a hoodie. You can get yourself an I Heart Joe, because it's like the whole I Heart New York, but it's I Heart Joe. I don't expect to sell any of these, but I wasn't the one who I only approved design. I was not the designer. Frankly, she did far better than I ever could. We got t-shirts and sweatshirt bundles, definitely not a track suit, because there's no track suits in the following. There's no mandatory track suits in the following. This is a sweatshirt bundle. It's not at all a tracksuit type of sweatshirt bundle. Not at all. It's just a sweatshirt, which I would say it's a pretty stylish sweatshirt. I was very proud of this. Look at that. Look at that sweatshirt. Look at that. A gathering of like-minded individuals who come together for community, unity, learning, and thinking. No Kool-Aid, no spaceships, no self-harm, no harming others. This makes very clear that I'm not the leader. And even some little matching pants there. There you go. There's the front of those pants. Not a cult type of cult. There you go. Trust me, your friends are gonna love it. This is if you haven't gotten your father a Father's Day gift, this is what he needs. This is what he needs. Or maybe you want to celebrate July 4th. You say, hey, it's 250. We should get some people into the following, because it's not at all a cult type of cult. I agree that the pardon is BS, just trying to think outside the box. The blanket pardon for something or anything that you may or may not have committed is insane. It doesn't make any sense. It's never made any sense. I didn't think it made any sense when Joe Ford did it. It never made sense. It was never anything. It was never a thing at all. So wait, what else can we get here? What else is available? So this is the Tumblr thing. Look at this. Look at that. Look at this. So good. I like it. I like it. For an opening thing, it's pretty solid. It's pretty solid. Look for there to be new add-ons. There's going to be new add-ons that are going to be coming like regularly. I told her we're going to have like regular add-ons. I'm already looking at what I can put for 250 because I think I need to have something. But we'll see. We shall see. How about manifesto instead of sparkles? We really don't need any sparkles, but we desperately need some manifesto. She's a member for 25 months. It's hard to argue with. It's hard to argue with Ginger when she's a member for 25 months. I struggle to argue with that. I'm just not sure if I'm feeling manifesto-y tonight. Am I feeling manifesto-y? Tired. I'm a little too tired to do manifesto. I do want to talk to you about why Democrats can never have anything nice. They have to make sure we can't have anything nice. Olympian David Hearn was arrested at a reflecting pool. The reflecting pool says, I didn't damage anything. Trump said multiple people have been arrested for vandalism at the pool. Here he is saying, I didn't do anything.
And Steve, thank you so much for your time today, this Friday. But listen, you got a chance to see the pictures of the reflecting pool. What do you think is causing this algae growth here?
I mean, I could. Trump invested somewhere between $10 and $16 million into repairing the reflecting pool. We're going to hear more from Trump on that in a moment. Now it's got algae, and there's issues with the lining being ripped, and questions about how the algae got there. And the notion is the Trump administration is claiming that folks are intentionally spiking the pool to try and damage it because Democrats just suck, and the idea of people actually being happy makes them miserable. So, and especially if they're happy because of something Trump did, that makes them doubly miserable and angry. And they get very weird if people are actually happy that things are nice. So they have to basically pee in the pool. They are the ones who pee in the pool, but they basically have the biggest bladder you can possibly imagine. So let's hear from these chuckleheads about the algae situation.
Really only speculate. I'm not boots on the ground there, so to speak.
Fair.
But it's not entirely uncommon to encounter an algae bloom when you do a fresh fill of a new large natural pool like this. You know, it's certainly unfortunate, but not altogether, you know, to be unexpected. These things can happen. These are very temperamental and complicated systems.
Well, and so I'm curious. I mean, for something like this that is, you know, kind of intense and requires systems. I mean, do you need more filters, more chemicals to clear the water?
Almost certainly yes to both. You know, not speaking to that, you know, they're not using enough right now. I don't know how much peroxide they're adding, you know, what the output capacity of the nanobubbler system is necessarily, but I do know that there are future plans for renovations to plumbing and filtration deficiencies. And when it comes to maintaining a giant body of water like this, the chemical maintenance and status of the water is very important, but the mechanical filtration is equally as important.
Yeah. Well, and we're also seeing the peeling of the bottom of that pool that was painted American flag blue. I mean, what do you think might be causing this? And also, you know, is it a big concern here?
It's really hard to say just from the video evidence I've seen. It certainly looks as though the bottom is peeling, and I don't know how widespread that is, whether it's a single area or a couple of areas, or again, widespread, as I said. Certainly, it's something that you don't want to see. There are a number of things that could have caused something like this. These kinds of high-performance aquatic system coatings, they're really incredible things, but they're very difficult. I think the average person would probably underappreciate just how technically intensive applying a surface like this is.
Well, and knowing that, if you were in charge of maintaining the reflecting
Can you blame Trump for us, please?
pool, the reflecting pool, how would you go about fixing these issues?
I mean, there's a lot of different things, and just starting with the specifications of the system, real actual numbers.
I don't need to hear from swimming pool Steve. All right, but three-time U.S. Olympian David Hearn told ABC News that police arrested him on Friday after he touched a piece of blue coating that was partially detached from the bottom of the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool. Hearn said he went on a bike ride on Friday afternoon and stopped by the reflecting pool as a curious, concerned citizen, given his background in material science. Hearn said he was interested to see the situation for himself after reading about reports of algae in the water and paint peeling off. Quote, I saw a piece of loose end of this blue coating. I reached out and touched the end of that piece that was loose but still attached to the bottom, Hearn told ABC News. I was able to reach out and touch the edge of that on what was still attached to the bottom and handle it a little bit. By handle it, probably means ripping it. Hearn was who represented the U.S. in canoeing, said he was able to feel and bend the coating a bit. Why are you trying to bend it? I did not remove, I did not damage, I did not rip, tear, break, destroy, or harm any part of the reflecting pool, Hearn claims. Quote, the condition of that part and all other parts of the reflecting pool were in the same condition after I walked away as they were before I walked up to it. So this is what his lawyers definitely told him to say. Hearn said he was touching the material. A National Park Service employee told him to stop touching it. He said then walked back to his bike where National Guardsmen told him that the park police wanted to talk to him. I had no idea I was about to be arrested, Hearn said. They didn't say they were charging me, but they did start to handcuff me. They did not ever read me my rights. They did not allow me any phone calls for the ensuing 5 hours, and they did not detail the charges that were going to be leveled against me. National Park Service did not reply to a request from ABC News, and he's supposed to appear in court on July 9th. Hearn said he was fully cooperative the whole time, did not resist, and was held for 5 hours before being released Friday night. Asked whether he is worried about what will happen to him next, Hearn said, I am concerned. I'm very wary of our current government. Yeah. I'm a single citizen being singled out in this way by my government. It's not fair and it's not right. Yeah, this is definitely leftist lunatic, just by the way he's framing this. The reflecting pool has been plagued with algae and peeling paint in the days since Trump administration completed a $14.65 million renovation. Visitors have been flocking to the pool over the weekend, and some have taken social media with photos and videos showing the algae and peeling paint. Now look at them. Trump claims without evidence that damage was committed by vandals. How do you know he doesn't have evidence? That's pretty stupid. You don't know that. Let's hear from Trump ourselves instead of reading ABC News' twisted variants of what he actually said.
Are the contractors who did the initial work with the reflecting pool, are they to blame for the current condition, or is it
No, we had vandalism. No, vandals. We have I think 290, 300 foot slit right through it, probably a box cutter or a knife of some kind. Or we had people lifting up the basic, it's not a lot of damage, but we'll probably have to let the water out and refix it. They went in there with a knife. I was just told by the people over at Parks, they have 5 people are arrested and 5 people are under investigation right now. And it's a sad thing. In addition to that, we put brand new, beautiful grass all around. They put these massive letters on the grass. You probably know about that, right? And they said 8647. They probably got that from the dirty cop, Comey. You know he's a dirty cop, don't you? Dirty cop. He's a crooked guy. They destroyed the grass. So that's a big thing. But we're going to get it back very soon.
National Guard and police have been all over the mall. How would these vandals have gotten so close to do something like that? Do you have any proof of this?
We didn't have a lot of them.
It's a stupid question. We didn't assume that Democrats were a bunch of freaking lunatics. We didn't really diagnose the level of lunacy of Democrats, that if they see something nice, that they have to try and destroy it. But apparently they are children. They are immature, And they're so insecure that if they see something nice that came courtesy of President Trump, they have to basically try and do everything they can to destroy it because they're that insane. It's your fault for breeding them.
That somebody would go into a pool and take a knife and start cutting it.
But do you have proof of that?
Yeah,
we
we have
have
proof.
photos or videos?
Well, let's put it this way. When you have a 350, I think it's 350, not 250, a 350-foot slit from one end to the other, you think that's proof? You think that's proof?
Reporters have been down there today looking for that slit that you mentioned. And
Well,
there's no evidence.
just, all you'd have to do is see the Parks Department. They'll show it to you. Or see the secretary. But I saw it. They cut it. They cut it very violently. The same thing with the floor. They cut it. And then they lifted it. They pulled it. And that's what it is. And, you know, we've done over 50 monuments. Number one, we start with, this is now a safe city. It's as safe a city as you're going to get.
That guy definitely peed in the pool. He totally did. I want my tracksuit. I've been waiting for 23 years, nearly 2 years now. Yes, you're feeling manifesto-y. Of course you are. Maybe for like $250, we'll do a tracksuit. You think we should do a $250 tracksuit? Not really a good Lawgic tracksuit. More of like a $250 tracksuit. Maybe. That's not a bad idea. Maybe a $250 tracksuit. America. Yeah, I think that's maybe we can do that. What do you think? Think that's a good idea? $250 tracksuit. Everyone wants to know that. Maybe a $250 tracksuit. I know you meant the reporter, not Trump. When you were saying that guy definitely peed in the pool. I know you meant.
In the country. And when I came here, it was a very dangerous city. And number two, what we did is the beautification with the parks and the grass and everything, removal of all the tents.
Yeah.
And this is like a different place. One of the things we did is over 50 fountains and statues, most of which were in horrible shape. All of them were bad, but some were just absolutely horrible. Graffiti, you couldn't even see the stone. They've all been fixed. We also fixed the reflecting pool. In fact, if you go over there right now.
So, yeah. So that's Trump basically saying, hey, look, Democrats are lunatics. What am I supposed to tell you? What should we do? What do you want us to do about that? There's a quick report on this also.
New tonight, more arrests tied to alleged vandalism at the reflecting pool. It's the latest development as crews continue working to clean up algae that appeared in the pool following a multi-million-dollar renovation project championed by President Trump. Here's Alexis Wainwright.
Anyone who was in a position of
This is not Alexis Wainwright. I don't know why he says, here's Alexis Wainwright, and then gives us Jeanine Pirro. But that's not Alexis Wainwright. That's Jeanine Pirro. I don't know what Alexis Wainwright looks like, but I'm astonished if this is actually Alexis Wainwright.
vandalizing or attempting to vandalize the reflecting pool will face the criminal justice system in D.C.
Tonight, a strong warning from U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro saying cases involving the reflecting pool will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
But make no mistake, making D.C. beautiful is a priority. And if you damage, vandalize, or do anything to impact some...
I'm going to tell you right now, I don't trust this woman. I don't trust her. I don't trust her. What's happening here? Why are you there? What are you doing? I don't trust you.
Do anything to impact something like the reflective pool, you can be prosecuted.
The comments come after President Donald Trump posted on Truth Social saying multiple people have been arrested for allegedly vandalizing the reflecting pool. An administrative official told CBS News that 5 people have been arrested for vandalism and another 5 were issued citations as of Saturday night. A total of 14 police reports have been filed.
I don't think they should be happening. We're arresting people, which is wrong. Then
why is that wrong? What the hell is that? Why would that be wrong? It's wrong to arrest people who commit crimes. It's totally wrong.
You have the National Guard, the police out here, and all of this to waste the taxpayers' money when they can be doing something different.
Meanwhile,
doing something different, like enhancing our lives. Like, this is something people. It's such. It's such low-level thinking to not appreciate the importance of having beauty. Beauty is a very important gift that we got from God. Trust me, I know. And it's such a worker bee mentality to just be plodding along and not trying to savor and enjoy life. And see things that lift the spirit, lift the soul. Why is that not? Why would you say it's not important? Why would anyone think it's not important? Meanwhile, you got like drunk dude over here basically looking like they're gonna moon us while they hurl into the reflecting pool. I don't know what we're seeing here. What are we getting? What are we getting here? Why? See, I'm talking about beauty and we got this. I don't know what I Lord, give me strength.
visitors from across the country stopped by the reflecting pool to see the situation for themselves.
We paid all of this money as taxpayers in order to get this fixed, and it's still not fixed. And
you didn't pay any money. You're only taking money. You didn't pay no money. I'm sorry, Tamara. You didn't pay. You're not paying all this money. You didn't pay a red. You ain't pay a red cent. I don't want to hear it. You didn't pay no money. We pay all this money. Oh, did you? Did you? Was the penny pinching? Was it really hard? Did you have to break open the piggy bank to pay for the reflecting pool? Is that what you had to do, Tamara?
it is. It's disappointing. I expected to come here and not see the algae.
It looks like green algae. That's it. A nasty color. Looked like nothing has been done to it.
Yeah, idiots.
We also saw, let's grow algae, let's grow. One woman protesting at the reflecting pool.
This is why we have idiots.
Once again,
I am pushing back against the incompetence. This reflecting pool is a reflection.
This is the really competent person pushing back against incompetence. I'm pushing back against the incompetence. Listen to who we're arguing with. I don't even know what the hell this is. Look at who we're arguing with. Some lunatic in a pink frog costume. What are we arguing? Why? Why are we even engaging with this? This is just astonishing.
Of the incompetence of this fashion.
Yeah, this is like definitely not very American sounding there, right? You can hear the Southern accent. You hear that heavy Southern accent right there.
One woman protesting at the reflecting pool once again.
I am pushing back against the incompetence. This reflecting pool is a reflection of the incompetence of this fascist regime.
She says she witnessed one man being arrested here recently, but doesn't believe what he did amounts.
If there was a fascist regime, they wouldn't let you stand there looking like an idiot in a pink frog costume.
To vandalism.
The person touched, put his hand and touched the peeling blue paint. And that is what the person was arrested for. So that is what they're calling vandalism.
Many of the people.
That's exactly what vandalism is, moron.
People here along the National Mall have been giving their thoughts on the reflecting.
This is not a good look for you either. Okay, we don't need to see the belly. We're good. We're good.
Pool. Many of the people I talked to say they feel like there's been an increase in National Guard members.
She tucked in for a second.
And law enforcement making sure people don't touch the water.
I've never seen this many National Guards in the National Park area. They came up to me and two other women asking if we've touched it, and then just promoting us not to, that we would get arrested or charged with vandalism if we did.
Alexis Wainwright, WUSA 9.
Yeah. So there you go. There you go. You want to know why we can't have anything nice? The answer is leftists. They ruin everything. They just ruin everything. Anything they can get their hands on. Horrible. Horrible. Did you really take me seriously, Richard? You really took me seriously? Diggers want actual tracksuits? I was thinking maybe like for $250. Why would that be wrong? You should put that on plaque. Why would that? I don't know. Sparkle. All right, people need me to talk about Sparkle. Let's talk about Sparkle. This is Sparkle. Sparkle Suknanen, and I'll explain to you why you're hearing about Sparkle Suknanen today and what Judge Sparkle Suknanen did. This is Sparkle Suknanen. Judge Sparkle Suknanen. From Trinidad and Tobago. Sometimes she's from Trinidad. Uncapped Chill says, I just tagged you on X with a news clip from 2012 that you should play. You're not cat rap, are you? It's 1996. I don't see it. I don't see it. Oh, this is 1996. I don't know. Well, the effort was made. I feel like I made the effort. So let's get back to Judge Sparkle Suknanen. Mia probably paid her to be there in costume so you could interview her. That's what Mia does, misrepresent. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't accuse, but I wouldn't be surprised. Judge Sparkle Suknanen from Trinidad and Tobago, American lawyer. She's Tobagan-born American lawyer who served as U.S. District Judge of the United States since 2025. She was born in San Fernando, Trinidad and Tobago, to parents of Indian descent. Graduated from Naparima Girls High School in 2000. Later earned a BS summa cum laude from St. Francis College in 2002. Master of Business Administration with distinction from Hofstra University in 2003. This is why we shouldn't have H-1Bs, by the way. This is why we shouldn't even have visas. They come here and basically become judges. Juris Doctor summa cum laude from Brooklyn Law School. Ooh, Brooklyn Law School. No, she's a judge. From 2010 to 2011, Suknanen served as a law clerk for Judge Eric Vitaliano. 2011 to 2012, law clerk for Calabrese of the Second Circuit. 2013 2014, she was a law clerk for Justice Sotomayor. In 2012 2013, she worked at the U.S. DOJ as an appellate attorney for the Civil Division. 2014 2021, she worked in private practice at Jones Day, becoming a partner at the firm in 2020. Almost certainly because she was from Trinidad and Tobago. Sugnana resigned from Jones Day in January 2021. Before her resignation, New York Times reported that she denounced the firm's work in Pennsylvania on behalf of the Trump administration, saying that one lawsuit was brought for no other reason than to provide poor people with the right to vote. This is the bitch who's basically deciding our election integrity. That's her. That's her. This crazy bitch should have been recusing herself. She had any sort of integrity. But she's a leftist, so why would anyone think she has integrity? In a 2024 confirmation hearing for the U.S. Senate, Sugnana denied saying this, stating, "Those were not my words. I don't know who provided that quote," to the reporter. Then why did you quit? Sugnana it's alleged that she felt so strongly about it that she left a partnership over them defending Trump. How the hell is this person sufficiently impartial to judge an election issue for Trump? When she left a partner position, allegedly, over their representation of Trump in an election issue, an election matter. I mean, it's insane. It's insane. Who the hell thinks that she has actual integrity in deciding election matters involving the Trump administration? Seriously. Deputy Associate Attorney General in the U.S. Department of Justice from 2021 to 2023. 2023 to 2025, she served as the Principal Deputy Assistant Attorney General for the Civil Rights Division. On February 1st, 2024, Biden announced his intent to nominate Sugnana to serve as the U.S. District Judge of the United States District Court for D.C. So you're saying that she's been here, a U.S. citizen, for 7 years. She's been living here a long time. She's been working here a long time. Recommended by Eleanor Holmes Norton. On February 27, 2024, a nomination was sent to the Senate, taking over for that which was vacated by Judge Pan, who was elevated to the Circuit Court. I remember Judge Pan's decisions. On March 20, 2024, a hearing on her nomination was held before the Senate Judiciary Committee. During a confirmation hearing, she was questioned by Senator Josh Hawley over work for Jones Day, representing hedge fund investors working in Puerto Rico. She told Hawley that she had not been lead counsel, though legal records in Jones Day confirmed she had been lead counsel. So she's basically full of crap. On April 18, 2024, a nomination was reported out of committee by 11-10 party line vote. On November 20, 2024, U.S. invoked cloture on her nomination by a 51-49 vote. And on December 23rd, 2024, a nomination was confirmed by a 50-48 vote. So she basically passed purely on Democrat lines. This was a gift from the Democrats to basically F us up. That's Judge Sparkles Sugnana. Disgusting. It's disgustingly political. And when I say disgustingly political, the evidence is that she leaves a law firm over the law firm's representation, just on principle that they represented Trump on a election matter. And then she has the audacity to sit in judgment over Trump on an election matter. I mean, if there's ever a situation where a judge should be saying to herself, hey, you know, doesn't really look impartial here, but no. No. I'm not going to go through the decision. The decision is 67 pages. And so I will go over what her findings were, but I'm not gonna go through it and the impact of what she's saying. And again, this will be appealed. It will go to circuit court, and then it's going to go. And then if they lose, they're probably going to try going to Supreme Court. So her decision here is not final, but it is disgusting that this woman, who's an immigrant to our country, is doing everything she can to help enable illegal people to vote. You see why you said, why would that be wrong? When the lady who was being interviewed said it was wrong to arrest people. Just a good response deserves its own plaque. Oh, how would that be wrong? Do I say that a lot? I'm going to share something with you. Little side topic here. Little side thing here for a moment. I sometimes just say things that just emanate from my brain to my mouth, and I do not even realize that my mouth is talking. I hear this a lot from Lady Lawgic. She claimed that I would sing this song. I'm sure she's making this up. But she claimed that I would just start singing a song. When I'm like deep in thought, I just start singing a song. And don't even realize I'm singing. And that I basically, yeah. And one time she just asked me, she goes, what were you just singing? So I said, what are you talking about? She's like, you were just singing. So I said, no, I wasn't. And she's like, what are you talking about? You just stopped singing right before I asked you the question. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, because my brain doesn't even register that anything is happening at all. I think that time I was singing. Like when she said I was singing, I was like, I think I might have just been singing. Like I had no recollection when I was singing. And then one time when I was on the air here, apparently while I was trying to find something, she heard me singing. And she's like, that's the song, that's it. And I was like, oh. But, so you tell me, I said, why would that be wrong? I don't remember saying that. That's just a me thing to say, I guess. I don't know. All right, let's get into it. Federal judge declares, this is Judge Sparkle Suknanen, declares that common sense election integrity is illegal. Of course she did. Judge Sparkle Suknanen, a Biden-appointed federal judge from Trinidad and Tobago, has ruled against the Trump administration's election integrity policy that would implement citizenship verification through the Social Security database. Biden-appointed Judge Sparkle Suknanen, who was born in Trinidad and Tobago, just blocked the Trump administration from using Social Security database system to verify voter eligibility. Foreign judges telling us we cannot secure our elections. What are we even doing? It's a good question. Good question, Libs, TikTok.
Mr. President, on the Save America Act, you're now urging Republicans to add that to this third reconciliation bill.
Yeah.
What's your perspective on why election integrity matters so much for national security from your perspective?
Well, we
as the
need it
editor
for
in chief?
our elections. We need to have voter identification, which you don't have right now on a national basis. We need it for, and the voter ID is very important. We need it for proof of citizenship. Do you believe it? The Democrats are fighting. They don't want you to prove your citizenship when you vote. You know why they want that? Because they cheat. And we also want it with mail-in voting, where you have people that are sent 7, 8 ballots, 2 ballots, 4 ballots, and a lot of them sign those ballots. Mail-in voting, and we want to be very judicious. If you're in the military and you're far away, or if you're handicapped, or if you're sick, or if you're on vacation, that you have but you're not going to. Millions and millions. Look at California. They send out millions of ballots, tens of millions. They have no idea what's going on. Those elections are so corrupt. So we have a mail-in ballot. Then we have no men, and we had 2 more. No men in women's sports. We're talking about saving America, right? No men in women's sports. Another one, very popular. I think it's 99-1. They say it's 80-20. I think it's 99-1. And we have no mutilization of your children. For
these are all obvious things.
So see, transgender mutilization.
We shouldn't be needing laws on
of
this.
your children. Does
But
that sound good with you guys, generally speaking? You're not into transgender mutilization?
Not at all. Not at all, sir.
where your child leaves your house and they take your child from you. In some cases, think of it, in 6 states, they take the child and do what they want to do. What they do is I don't even want to talk about it. But we add that no transgender utilization of your children.
On DNI, Mr. President.
So, Judge Sparkle Suknanen struck down the Trump administration's expanded Save Voter Verification System, ruling that federal agencies unlawfully created a centralized database containing Social Security and citizenship data to facilitate mass voter verification. So she's saying it's a violation of the Privacy Act in creating a database which has Social Security numbers. The initiative pursued by the Department of Homeland Security would overhaul election security measures by creating a systemic alien verification for entitlements system through a searchable citizenship database linked to the Social Security Administration. Suknanen considered the development in election integrity as violating the right to privacy. All in all, the federal government has knowingly trampled on the privacy rights of American citizens in a manner that threatens the sacred right to vote. How? This court cannot stand idly by while that happens. Yeah. Judge Sparkle decrees that America belongs to a random alien on planet Earth, just like our founders intended. White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller has responded on social media. Yeah. Yeah. She previously ruled against the Trump administration policy to remove Guatemala illegal aliens in September 2025. She was appointed to her seat in February 2024 by President Joe Biden, ultimately confirmed 50-48 in December of the same year. That's who we got, basically. This is what we have in D.C., these insane leftist judges who basically do not care about what the law is. They're just going to find some way to twist the law. Frankly, this agency, League of Women Voters, I don't know why they have a basis here, why they have a unique standing. What gives them standing to come in here and raise this issue? So what, they're League of Women Voters? I don't even think they have standing. But to raise a privacy issue? Why would they have standing to raise a privacy issue? That doesn't seem to make sense. But like I said, I'm hopeful that this is going to be overturned. So that's why I really don't want to fixate on it. And it makes me, and just seeing that this woman is actually a federal district court judge and will be for the rest of our lives is just depressing. I don't like thinking about it. I really don't. Something's got to change. Something's got to change. And speaking of someone else who thinks something's got to change, but in very different ways from what I would think is normal or productive, I should tell you all about Tucker Carlson. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Oh no, before I get to Tucker Carlson, I promised that I was going to share this with you if I hit my goal. And even though I didn't realize what the goal was when I said it, because things happen. And I told you I was mad at Tom Cotton. Before I get to Tucker Carlson, let me tell you why I'm so angry at our Senate today. And you should be too. Do you know what a pro forma session is? Do you know what a pro forma session is? That's my question. Pro forma session. A pro forma session is a congressional session, usually of the Senate, that is not a real session. Literally one person goes in and to the Senate and basically it's a brief formal meeting. I wanted to make sure this is what I assumed it was, and I actually had to ask Grok this question. Pro forma session is a brief formal meeting of the U.S. House of Representatives or Senate held in form only, No real legislative business is conducted, no debates, no votes, and often just a few minutes or even seconds long, sometimes with only one member present. The reason for it is the constitutional 3-day rule. Article 1, Section 5 of the U.S. Constitution says neither chamber can adjourn for more than 3 consecutive calendar days without the consent of the other chamber. Pro forma sessions let Congress take long weekends or short breaks from Thursday to Tuesday without formally adjourning. They don't want to formally adjourn. Why don't they want to formally adjourn? Why don't they want to formally adjourn? Because if they formally adjourn, then Trump can make a recess appointment, and they don't want to let Trump make any recess appointments. So they'll make sure that, hey, someone go in there and just stand in there for a second and have a pro forma session for 5 seconds and log in that you had a session, that you appeared there, and this way the Senate wasn't idle for 3 days, and this way we can say we're still in session because, hey, Senator X came in there and kept us in session, so we weren't technically out of session. That's why they have this. It's designed to try and screw up President Trump so he cannot make recess appointments. Because if Congress goes out of session, then he can make they're in recess, I can make an appointment. So in order to make sure that the Senate is continuously in session, you have different members who go in there and hold a session for a couple of seconds, a minute or two, and then walk out, and then restarts the clock another 3 days. These are people who are purposefully, actively trying to stonewall Trump from moving forward his agenda. You want to see who's on the list of people who have been conducting these pro forma sessions? That's where we're going next. The leading rhino dirtballs who have run the most pro forma sessions to block President Trump. Tom Cotton, 4 times. Chuck Grassley, 3 times. Joni Ernst, 3 times. John Barrasso, 3 times. Here's a list of all of them. It's unbelievable. Sickening. Sickening. Josh Hawley, Rand Paul, Jim Justice. 36 of them. 36 of them. So God forbid, maybe the Senate will be out of session and have a recess appointment. No. No recess appointments for him. They're so terrified he's going to have a recess appointment, which will be able to stay there till they get out of session. And no. We cannot allow that. So all of these people here, useless. Useless. Disgusting. 36 of them. But these are the dates: 2/14, 1/22, 2/13, 4/17, 12/30, 4/2/26, 5/7/26. Unbelievable. Mark Wayne Mullen, and he was there, did it twice. These are the people who are hoping to pass the Save America Act. This is our hope. So when you see stuff like this, you sort of understand a little bit more why you end up having Tucker Carlson say utterly retarded things like this.
the Republican Party. There's no chance. I would not support the Republican Party. There's no chance I would support the Republican Party. I'm not going to support the Democratic Party. I don't know what I'm going to do. But at this point, you know, how could I or any American voter support a political party that's not loyal to the United States, that puts the interests of a foreign country above those of its own citizens? Like, that's you know, it's not possible to vote for people like that. And
see, if he was saying something like, because they're standing in Trump's way, I would have a modicum of respect for him. But no. He's so obsessed with Israel that that's his whole motivation here. That's his whole motivation. Not that our Senate is standing in Trump's way. No. That's not what's bothering Tucker Carlson. No, it's that he's got this whole insane Israel thing that just preoccupies him 24/7.
I'm not going to. And I think I voted Republican my entire life. I worked at Fox News, CNN, MSNBC. I've been a consistent defender for 35 years of the Republican Party. I mean, very consistent defender. But there's no defending this because it's immoral. And it's exactly the opposite of what a political party in a democracy is charged with doing, which is.
You're sitting here talking about a democracy. Oh, my God, just stop it. Oh, this is who the woke Reich is worshiping and saying 5.4% chance on Fauci that he becomes our next Republican nominee, which I'm going to tell you right now, if you have a deep desire to flush your money down the toilet, you should invest very heavy in Tucker Carlson's getting and his 5.4% odds.
Representing its own voters, its own citizens, its own nation, and they're not doing that. So no, I'm out. And if I'm out, then I think a lot of other people are out. I would not support the Republican Party. There's no chance I would support the Republican.
So this made a lot of headlines because he's saying he's not going to support the Republicans. It was even reposted by Kamala Harris's headquarters, which that just shows you like how the mighty have fallen. He who was once the most influential person in MAGA, this side of Donald Trump, and at certain points, perhaps in 2022. Early 2023, more so than Donald Trump. And now he sounds like a deranged lunatic. And again, if he had been saying this after looking at the pro forma sessions of 36 members of our GOP Senate, I'd be like, yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it. They're useless. I mean, they're just useless. But here's the thing. This is what we can never lose sight of. You need a workable, viable plan. You don't just say, oh, let's just set the house on fire because we don't like the way the house is currently built. And I'm using the word house figuratively, but I guess you can use the senatorial house. You don't just say, let's set it on fire. You need something that's legitimately workably viable. Otherwise, until you come up with a workably viable alternative, you keep plowing. That's what a man does. You keep plowing and you try to make it better. That's what you do. And is it frustrating as hell? Of course it is. Of course it is. So what? You say, you know what? These jackasses like Tom Cotton, like Chuck Grassley, let's get them removed. John Thune, let's get them removed. Barrasso, Capito, let's bounce them out of there. Find people who are better. You don't say, oh, I'm done with the Republican Party. That's such a loser mentality. I don't like the way you're playing this game. I'm taking my ball. I'm going home. What are you going to do at home? This is the game. This is the only game in town. You change it. You work to change it. You step up there like a freaking man and you work to change it. You're sitting there whining and crying. Stupid derangement over a country. It's retarded. But it's It's bitterness and it's defeatist. It's such a loser mentality. It's embarrassing. This is not what strong men sound like. This is the opposite of strong men. It's not women. 'Cause women can be strong. This is just weakness. This is impotence. I said a long time ago, one of the big mistakes that the trans community makes is that they think like, oh, if you're not a strong man, that means you're a woman. No. That's just people making fun of you. No, you're just a weak man. You're a pathetic man. A pathetic man doesn't make for a good woman. No. That's just people mocking you. Saying you're like a woman. You're far away from being a good woman. Far, far away. So too over here. You don't just curl up and say, oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know. Stupid. You come up with a viably workable plan, something that actually has a prayer of developing into something, even if it's something that can't work in the short term, but something that could actually work in the long term. Well, what are you basically doing? You're creating a brand new form of the Libertarian Party? And that type of ineptitude? Like that's gonna work? Or try to change what we have. You're dissatisfied? You don't think this was sufficiently good enough change for you? Well, first and foremost, I think that you're a spoiled little child. You don't have everything the way you don't have this president doing everything the way you want him to do it. Certainly 8 out of 10 things he's doing fairly well. It's a hell of a lot more than any other president. You're so spoiled and so kicking your feet and like, I'm not part of the Republican Party anymore. I got let down. I can't believe the Epstein files. The Epstein files. Israel, Epstein files. Israel, Epstein files. You go sit there crying. Oh, it's terrible. I can't believe he's turned his back on us. Ridiculous. No patience. I have no patience for this. I don't know. Thank you. So, are Israel the good guys? No, America is the good guys. This is what a stupid question. It's not either or. Are the UK the good guys? Such a stupid question. Well, I don't. It's such a it's such a polarized. And this, I don't blame you for asking this question. I want to clarify, John D. I don't blame you for asking this question because this is how it's framed in social media. If you spend a lot of time, in particular on X, this is how it's framed. But it's not Israel is the good guys, the bad guys. Israel is a foreign country. Sometimes they work to help us, and sometimes they work against us. Sometimes their interests are not aligned with ours, and we should blow them off when that happens. Sometimes their interests are aligned with ours, and we should work with them when they are. It's really very simple. It's no different from any other country. Say the same thing about France. Say the same thing about Colombia. Say the same thing about Paraguay. It's like, I don't understand the question. That made me cheer up. Thank you, Reform. Thank you, brother. Hans Wampak says, Canadian shooter manifesto is released by Rebel Media. Guy had citations and notes like a research paper or legal decision. Really? 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 I'm inspiring people. Ooh, nice. Oh, this is that makes me feel good. That makes me feel good. I feel as if I'm making the world a better place. At least this way, now we have like a real manifesto, citations and notes, like a research paper. That's beautiful. Now I need to find this thing. I'm so curious. A really good manifesto. I'll tell you what, tomorrow's goal will have manifesto on the agenda. Tomorrow's goal. I see people want manifesto. Tomorrow's goal, I haven't done manifesto in a little while now. Tomorrow we'll do some manifestoing if we hit our goal. Okay, that's the plan. Anything else for you before I go? I did have this. I saw a lot of people were talking about another decision which seemed to go the left's way this weekend, which is that Tim Walz had subpoena quashed. There were subpoenas that were issued by the DOJ that were quashed. And some people mistakenly seem to think it relates to the fraud in Minnesota, which is rampant. I want to clarify that. The subpoena which was quashed related to how Minnesota has dealt with illegal immigration. And trying to find it here. Just to keep you properly informed. There was a clip that I saw that I was like, I don't even know what the hell they're talking about in this clip because that doesn't even make any sense. This is what I was like, this is what I knew I had it here somewhere. Right. I didn't even understand this clip when I saw this. Here's the clip. You watch this clip and you're like, you're going to think this is all about the fraud in Minnesota. And I'm just like, I don't know what the hell I'm looking at here. I don't even know what they're talking about.
It's very obvious to any honest broker that this type of fraud escalating in Minnesota could have only happened if the people responsible for doling out the money were willfully blind to the conduct that was ongoing in Minnesota. That's obvious to anyone who looks at this with a clean slate. What I would say is this, that if Minnesota is interested in cooperating with us, then they should open their books all of these programs, open the books and allow us to have access to the documentary evidence that we need to prove these offenses. They've not done that. One example is the SNAP program funded by USDA, millions and millions of dollars. We've asked them for those records. They're suing us to prevent us from accessing those records.
So I don't know if that clip is, I don't know why that clip is attached to this story, because this story has nothing to do with SNAP benefits or any of the fraud that's happening there. But Eric Doherty says federal judge Patrick J. Slitz unilaterally blocks DOJ grand jury subpoenas of Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and his allies. He's saying, impeach and overturn now. Walz needs to face accountability. Walz is not only concealing fraud, but also protecting illegal aliens. Subpoenas had to do with walls and local areas shielding illegals. That's what the subpoenas were about. Now judges are stepping in to carry out the judicial coup and protect it. It has to stop. The logic behind this Judge Schlitz, which this has been animated by AI.
It's very...
But the logic behind his ruling was a finding that Trump was wrong in his whole Operation Epic Fury and the way he went into Minnesota, and hence the subpoenas are wrong. It's targeted. Okay, all right. That's another one. I don't know how well that's gonna. I don't know how well the circuit court is gonna look at that. That's a pretty strange finding to quash the subpoenas based on. When you read his decision, he cites like all sorts of different abuses, and the citations read like a leftist joke, like a leftist parody. Like he cites the incident where a woman says, "I'm disabled. I'm disabled." You remember that Minnesota woman when she's being pulled out of a car? "I'm disabled." And it's saying one woman crying how she's disabled as she was being yanked out of a car by ICE agents. It's like, this is what he accepted as being like the basis of his findings of fact, this Judge Schlitz. God, I'm so sick of these woke judges. I am so sick of these woke judges. Anyway, I just want to reassure you that in case you were bothered saying, how could this fraud basically subpoena be quashed with respect to the fraud? It's not about the fraud. It's about illegal aliens. It still shouldn't be quashed. It's ridiculous findings by Judge Schlitz, who has one L too many to his name. Wow, that joke works like 4 different ways. I don't know if anyone else got it. Judge Schlitz is clearly someone who has an agenda that must be followed, an agenda that must be followed. Oh God, the footnotes have footnotes. These are it's amazing. Tucker, what democracy? We're a republic. Oh, ooh, ah. I don't know what's happening. I think it's time for me to start landing my plane. I think that's what the time is. Hands one pack sharing the manifesto with me. Oh, Seth Atfield's manifesto. Thank you so much. "37 pages. All right, this is starting to look like something I need to read. Oh my God. Oh, this looks like something I could have a lot of fun with. All right. Thank you so much, brother. I gotta put a little star on this one. Find it later. Bookmark it. All right, I have a bookmark now. That's all I got for you tonight. Please make sure you hit like and subscribe before you get on out of here. Just hit it. Just hit it. Hit it. And remember that lab meat was never meant for you. It's meant for they, them. Ew, gross. Ew. And check out the merch store. The merch store is going to have new stuff coming in there. Links in the description. Links pinned in the chat. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. The links are there. It's at the top of the description. You can't even miss it. It's like you have to like sort of like look past it. And why would you want to do that? So check out the store. And do not eat the bugs. Don't do it. Have a good night, everyone. And as always, Godspeed.